the madhouse.
Welcome.
Cheers to episode.
That's not how we start the shows. There's no way.
I say cheers to episode 44. What the fuck are you talking
Right in the
about?
beginning?
Yes. Evan, right?
Yeah, we've done. No, this is episode 44, and we've done it the same way 43 times.
Well, I've messed it up once or twice, but not the cheers part. I always say cheers and then
Cheers.
to episode 44.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Smirnoff seltzers.
Got some Johnny Walker Black.
Do not hurt me, please.
Yeah,
I got some classic Busch Light.
I feel like a chick after I just said Smirnoff seltzers and now it's going Johnny Walker. Listen, all I had left over that sounded good right now. Tonight is Monday, November 1st. Not Sunday, Monday, November 1st. 7:12 p.m. and
It's 2021.
2021, and you guys take it away. And what?
And Michigan State wins the battle at the woodshed.
And what, Evan?
And what? Hunt for Red October? We get Paul Bunyan back in East Lansing. He stays home.
And
No, that was like, I wanted just to give you guys the and, you know?
yeah, I just wanted to see if Evan has more to say.
But yeah, just,
And Mel Tucker has huge, big stones.
okay. This is going to be a highly anticipated reaction show to the biggest game in the rivalry series between Michigan and Michigan State. That is going to lead the show. We're not going to tiptoe around, oh, how was your week? What's new? Well, no, this happened this weekend. And also our weekend.
This is our whole weekend.
Our
whole
weekend
was,
This is our
Yes.
this is our whole fall, basically. Well, there's still fall to
this was
go.
my month.
We'll rope in some of the atmosphere and how the weekend was into the recap, but we're just going to start off with the game. I guess the most natural place to start is me teeing up to you guys. How did it feel waking up today on a victory Monday after being on the right side of that victory?
I felt a lot better. Going to class was a little bit easier today.
A little pep in your step.
Yeah, a little pep in your step, a little confidence wearing the Michigan State colors around campus. Reading Twitter wasn't like heartbreaking and depressing. It was actually a joy, and they're still trolling out there with some of the stuff that's transpired on social media, so it feels good to be on the good side of all of that.
Yeah, vibes are high. Vibes are high. Mondays suck. But today, this Monday, it didn't suck as bad.
It was a good game for Alex because his voice is
I lost it at the game, if you can't tell.
shattered right now.
I did a lot of yelling.
You lost it at the Lions game, let's be honest.
Well, I wish that was the case, but no.
There was some
it
hard-
wasn't. There was no yelling needed at the Lions game
There was some hard boos at the Lions game.
that no one cares about. Anyways.
To me, well, obviously, this is the last couple of days have just been a torture chamber of trying to take some positives away from the game as a Michigan fan, but also overwhelmingly just being same old story. Like, why do you expect anything to be really different? It just kind of happened a little bit earlier in the season than it has in past devastating years for Michigan. So we can I'll have more for Michigan fans a little bit later, but I wanted to start out with a question for both of us. So obviously I'm on the losing end, you guys are on the winning end. Where does this win rank as an MSU fan? Now, we can try to work together and narrow down what time frame we're talking about, because obviously it has to be our lifetime. And it probably has to be since 2010 if we're really being coherent.
Just go D'Antonio era and on.
Because, yeah, I like that.
So we're 10.
So,
When
where
D'Antonio
does this win rank satisfaction-wise? Maybe, you can take your personal enjoyment from the game, overall importance. I feel like it'd be a little bit different, but you can take it however you want. Where does this game rank as a win for a Michigan State fan?
We're probably
You go first.
We're gonna probably differ, I think, on this one.
Well, that's good for the show.
For me, let me think. It's probably 3 or 4 on the list, I'd say.
A little bit tough reaction from Evan.
I knew he wouldn't like that. I mean, Big Ten championship game against Iowa, I was there.
Which Evan declared this game already bigger.
Evan
than
was
that
also
game.
there. We went together, but
Shout out Butler freshman year dorms.
that game was super exhilarating. crazy last-minute touchdown. Everyone knows it. The trouble with the snap game is still up there just because I was at that game as well. And
That was also 7 Michigan State versus 12 Michigan, so big importance there.
Big game, and just being in the stadium for that, my reaction, that was nuts. And the only other game I think that could get in this conversation, other than the one Saturday, would be Michigan State, Ohio State with the backup QBs when they went into Columbus and won on the game-winning field goal. That game was also pretty wild. But I would say all those are probably pretty interchangeable, so it's somewhere in the top 4. I mean, it's definitely up there.
Can you give us a concrete answer, though? That was a coach speak. I need just do it. I know they're all your children. You love them all the same. But can you just give us a good old 1, 2, 3, 4?
3.
This is 3?
It would be 3.
Which one's it ahead of?
I think trouble with the snap is 1, Big Ten championship game 2, this 3, Ohio State game 4. Give us
this
that
is by
1.
far hands down number 1. Slightly behind it is the Rose Bowl. Stanford.
Yeah, that's 5th for me.
That feels like a miss on your end.
It's 5th for me.
Like I said beforehand, this is the biggest game in recent Michigan State football history. It's not even close. True. And I'm ranking this number 1 solely because of the matchup, top 10 matchup, and is against your arch rival. If this was a top 10 matchup against Wisconsin or Ohio State and you win it, will it matter? Yes, but it doesn't matter as much because you're going against Michigan, and a lot on the season rides in this game.
Yeah, and I would also say, Evan, your hate for Michigan grows very, very deep.
Correct.
So this is personal for you. It's personal for me, but it's more personal for you.
Yeah.
And
I was younger for all the other games. Did I get emotional after them? Yes, but
did you cry for this game?
The way that no, I did not cry for this game.
You just said emotional.
We'll get to it, but the scenes afterwards inside the stadium, what was transpiring after, in the student section and everything. I mean, it's something because the anticipation building up for this game for 2 weeks is something that I don't think any of us have experienced. Maybe the bowl games, but other than that, the Ohio State game, all of a sudden Connor Cook's not in. Talking about the snap, it was 1 play. It wasn't a whole week transpired up to it. Yeah, it was the same team.
There was a lot of hype that week.
But that was just that 1 play, obviously changed college football history. But I just the anticipation building up to it, I don't think was as great as this one.
Yeah, no,
I mean, we were all sitting on the edge of our seats just figuring out what time this game was going to kick off.
It's true.
That's how much we were all
Where does it rank in games you've seen in person in terms of college football on the field? Was
on
that
the
the
field,
best
this
game
is
you've
number
ever
1.
seen?
And I don't even know if it's close.
Best game you've ever seen in person, hands down.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I mean, this game was honestly up there with I don't know, because I don't go to as many college football games in person as you guys have over the years. Butler did not have a good football team, so this is probably top 10. I might be doing this injustice that I even can have seen on TV since the last 5 years or something. It stands out with just random games you get invested in, the Rose Bowl between Georgia and Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield, all-time game. A couple of Michigan's, Michigan, Ohio State 2016, great back-and-forth game. It's up there with Georgia, Alabama college football championship game. Tua, it's just up there with a back-and-forth emotional game. Some of it rivals this year. If it's not the best game in college football this year so far, the only other second would be Texas-Oklahoma Red River Shootout. And those teams don't even play defense. So it's almost I don't know. This one stands.
One's 4-4.
This
game's number 1.
This one stands toe to toe. It's it's an unbelievable game. Just watching, you had Gus Johnson on the call. I mean, we can dive into it now. We're getting into the nitty gritty because we got time, boys. Talk to me about.
Wait. We have to go to the flip side, Grant. You have to tell us where it ranks for you as a loss.
Do you want to do that before we get into the atmosphere of the game?
Yeah, just give a little sprinkle into what you're really thinking.
So I went on ESPN. I started in 2015 when Harbaugh took over because that's where I based it off of. Because everything before then was just bad losses, pathetic, barely over 500. Football with one gifted Sugar Bowl appearance. 2015, I'm just going to go in order, and then I'll tell you where I slotted in. 2015, there was a heartbreaking loss. Like you said, trouble with the snap. Number 7, MSU versus number 12, U of M. 2016, another devastating loss that I really have not even thought about or choose. You know how there's some losses. I would be curious, guys, if you have any off the top of your head that you kind of like force out of your memory bank. Like, oh, that didn't happen. Like that game that I watched doesn't really exist. Do you guys have any of those that you can think of, like from Michigan State, where you almost just someone tells you about it, like, oh yeah, that game.
You mean that were exciting or just
like I'm trying to think like the year you guys went to the playoff, it ended good, so it may not sting as much, but I feel like that Nebraska game, you guys just like, oh yeah, we don't talk about that. I don't relive that game.
That was one of the worst losses of my whole life.
So 2016, number 3 Michigan goes to Iowa and loses 14-13. That's a game that I couldn't even tell you like a single play from besides like their winning field goal. Like I don't acknowledge that game. I couldn't tell you, like I was looking at the stats today. Wilton Spate threw for 100 yards. I was like, God, that had to be disgusting to watch. I just remember young Grant or high school Grant predicting that Michigan would lose that game because winning at Iowa is always scary at night. Yeah, okay. So freshman year college Grant was like winning at sophomore year college Grant was like winning at Iowa is tough.
Freshman.
No, because you guys went to the playoff your freshman year. Sophomore Grant.
I was thinking about the Nebraska game. I was a freshman on campus.
And then
yeah, it's tough.
2016, later that year, obviously, Michigan, number 3 Michigan at number 2 OSU. LeBron and his friends in the stands, which just made it worse for me. That loss tough. 2018, number 4 Michigan home versus number 10 OSU, favored in that rivalry for probably the first time in forever. Blew 62-39 against Haskins. And then 2019, number 11 U of M at number 13 Wisconsin. Jonathan Taylor runs for over 200 yards against Michigan, and that's just kind of like an embarrassment on the national stage early in the year. And then obviously you have 2019 Ohio State.
You have a ton of these, man. Wow.
There's a lot. And then you could also go 2015 Ohio State with Rudock. Ezekiel Elliott ran for over 200 yards against Michigan in the Big House, and that was just a nightmare game. You can sprinkle in some against Penn State, Notre Dame, whatever you want to do. But this is the definitive power ranking, and I stand by this, and I'd be curious to see how Michigan fans feel. I think they might agree. So number 1 by far is Ohio State, 2016. That game that sucked. That was like a great team. And then this might surprise people, but I still think number 2 would be Ohio State 2018, just because Michigan was favored in that game. Justin Fields was not there yet. Michigan was supposed to have things going right, favored at home, and you just get absolutely embarrassed as the number 4 team in the country.
Is that JT Barrett? Who's the quarterback?
Haskins. 62 points on your head. Like, just super embarrassing. And then this game, so high praise for this game. Number 3 is Michigan State 2021. It hurt more, I think, than the trouble with the snap game, because even 2015, Harbaugh's first year, you're like excited about it, but still it's like, okay, it's going to have, at that point, you're thinking he's going to have a successful 10-year. You're going to win a Big Ten championship within 7 years. Like, things are going right. And I knew Michigan, I'm not dumb, as we'll get to later with some Michigan fans. I know Michigan State's a good football program, and I knew Connor Cook was good. So I'm not going to be like, oh, it's going to be a cakewalk for Michigan in that game. I knew this one would be tight, but this one, as opposed to the trouble with the snap one, like, I feel like Michigan dominated this game at points a little bit more than the trouble with the snap game. And that one was more of a shock. So this one's 3rd. Long story short, this one's the 3rd toughest, I think, under Harbaugh's era. But saving it is that there's still season left to be played. If there wasn't, then it'd probably be like a little bit higher. But what attributed, a big part of this game and what made it so great was the atmosphere, like I talked about. We can start wherever you guys want. Tell me, like, I don't know how to, like, the high points. So I guess for people's backstory, 3 of us and a ton of people, we were tailgating on campus, got there early. I'll briefly hop in there. And assuming as things progress here, Mel Tucker is legit, and there's going to be big games for years to come in East Lansing. MSU Police has got to figure out a better game day plan for people to get around campus, because from what I heard, because we didn't get to see much because obviously there was only so many roads we could go on. I heard they had like so many roads shut down that it just made it impossible. I think our buddy, Kyle Austin, I didn't see it, but someone said on a podcast I listened to that Kyle Austin had a great tweet that said about the atmosphere. He said you basically need a helicopter to get to Spartan Stadium today. Like, it was just like a zoo around the area. Like, you couldn't get near it unless you were on foot, like Evan, you guys were. So that sucked. But then you get the tailgate going, and then talk to me about when you guys leave, I guess, from our tailgate, because that's where the game day atmosphere takes over, just walking to the stadium and all that.
Long walk. That's when the nerves really hit me. So, I mean, I was hyper-focused walking to the game. Like, left foot, right foot, just trying to think about anything.
Trying to sober yourself up probably to get
a
into
little
the
bit,
stadium.
but, like, just trying to think, like, wow, I mean, just don't think about the game. Just get to the game. Just, try not to get too nervous. I walked up out the little tunnel up to my seats. Then it started to hit me. See all the players on the field. Started really, chest is beating. Looked at a friend of the podcast, Cody. And he's all, excited. He's worried about if he has cash for the melting moments. And I'm just like, man, I can't think about anything except this football game right now. And he's like, but do you have cash for the melting moments? I'm like, no, I don't. No melting moments today. Like, I'm worried about the game. He went to pee and he didn't come back for like 25 minutes. So I just basically just sat there and was just taking it all in by myself. And then when it hit me was everyone stood up for like introductions. No one sat for the whole game. And then this section, everyone's like a boomer. They always want you sitting down. People complain if you're standing up. No one was sitting. Everyone stood the whole entire game, which is wild.
Do they do like starter introductions for like college football like this?
They announce. They don't come out, but they announce the starters on the screen.
Gotcha.
Do a little video. So I was just taking that in by myself. As friend of the program, was worried about ice cream sandwiches.
How much time was left on like the clock, like pregame, when you like eventually got to like your seat?
32 minutes.
If you remember.
32 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy memory. Shout out to Alex for that.
Yeah.
That's a solid like get in early a little bit,
That's
a lot of time. That's a lot of time to think about.
Introduction, swag surfing, the flyover. Let's applaud the flyover. Incredible.
Was it?
Good flyover. Good flyover.
It's awesome. Love flyovers.
Stealth bomber.
They were two
F-16s.
I don't remember the names of them.
Feels like an F-16.
Were they?
I don't know.
They were a little bit different. They weren't like the normal flyover.
They were basically touching as they flew over. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
So your walk to the stadium, a little bit different than mine. I had an adventure and an experience all else that not going to go into the podcast. But just an absolute mad scene in the student section area because all students seemed like they wanted to get in at the same time.
What time did you get there?
First time I noticed and sat down in the first seat that I was going to attempt to sit in, there was about 25-ish minutes left on the clock.
Wow. So it must have taken you I walked right in from the parking lot. You must have stood in line for a while.
No, didn't stand in line. We had to take a quick detour, stop somewhere. I did not control, with the group of people I was with. Sat down in the upper deck first, and I said, no, I'm not sitting here. This is too big of a game. Made our way down. Probably
the actual upper deck?
The actual upper deck.
Wow.
I was on the ramp for a good 5-10 minutes, working my way up there, sat down. Soon the upper deck wasn't full yet, not even close. And I sat down. I said, whoever I was with, and I was like, I'm not sitting up here. We're moving. Worked our way down, and I was right behind one of the entrances into the student section. I was probably 20, 25 rows off from the field.
Oh, wow.
Pretty close, I would say. I would have taken a picture, but lost my phone. Didn't have my phone the entire game.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Where did you lose your phone?
Where did your phone go?
Yeah, good question. Don't really remember where or how I lost my phone.
You did get it back.
Had it.
Too long. Don't read. The tailgate was pretty fun. I guess this is the summary of these.
Tailgate was a good time.
Tailgate was really good. Alex, you probably know more details getting to the stadium than I do, so that's why.
Yeah,
Evan, aka Goose, was just like, guys, shocked. I think it was like got set up at the tailgate. Evan's squad rolls over. It's like 8:01. We're like set up at 7:55. It's like, all right, line up, boys. Shotguns. And I'm not gonna lie, that first Bud Light that I chugged, I almost threw up. Like that hit me bad.
First thing I did when after I peed because I sat in the car for 45 minutes. Shotgun, soda pop, of course.
Do you guys recall this scene? So my completely different. You want to talk about a 180? Just hopped in the car with my parents to go back to an apartment to watch the game. I got there at like 11:58. Talk about I didn't have time to.
Wow.
I did not have time to like even think about what could happen. Like the game, which is kind of good. Like
No pregame.
You're just in it. I turn it on to the big noon kickoff, obviously, because that's what the game's on, and you see the scene. So I want to ask you about this. So my first taste of the atmosphere there was electric for me, obviously as a Michigan fan. It's Charles Woodson, Tom Rinaldi, who I guess works for Fox now. I didn't know that. I assume he's an ESPN guy, but he's at Fox. So he tosses it up for like Charles Woodson's prediction, which is the dumbest thing ever because you know he's just going to say Michigan. He's got a Michigan flag on him, and he's running up and down the sideline, waving it, and the boos are raining down on him. And then as that's going on, based on other videos I watched, obviously I couldn't see it on the same channel, but Corso and Game Day's on the other side, and Corso puts on his Michigan helmet, and Ken Jeong's holding up a Michigan State jersey in front of the student section, and the student section is doing swag surfing while this is going on.
Corso picked Michigan.
Yeah, so Corso throws on a Michigan helmet. He said he was crazy for doing it. He admitted it. Ken Jeong puts up the jersey as like this deep end. They have the deep end sign there, and they're doing swag surfing in front of Corso. It's a chilling scene.
Swag surfing was a little better this time.
And then the other end of that, you have Charles Woodson running around the Michigan flag as the flames are going up in the smoke, and Michigan State's running on the field. So like it was like holy cool. I didn't even see it fly over. Like I was just jazzed to go just from that little sequence, and then it goes from there. But I guess the only other natural question was I saw people talking about like Alex already hinted to me like the play you remember where it was just like deafening loud. Was there one? And then like where does this atmosphere compare to other Michigan State games you guys have seen throughout your life?
The deafening play, I think, is a no-brainer. It was Michigan State had just taken the lead, finally. Whatever the final score was, 37-33. It's third down in Michigan's own, on their own 25, 3rd and 10, and that place was going bananas. It was extremely loud. Cade ends up making like a 50-yard throw. Good for
Not
him.
to be the well-actually guy, it was actually 30-30.
That was tied.
Tied at that point. All the momentum was going Michigan State, but still,
Right.
point taken.
It's foggy. But, yeah, no, it was crazy, and it got silence. But in terms of atmosphere in Spartan Stadium, it's probably the second loudest I've ever heard it. Oregon 2015. First, that was louder, I think. Prime time. People were a little more drunked up.
Yeah, 15 would probably be the most comparable.
It's close. I mean, I
atmosphere.
don't know for sure.
So Alex picked that play. Evan, can you walk me through the interception play and then just like leaving the stadium? Because leaving the stadium is always like a sweet feeling when you're like when we were just as a neutral fan when we were in Miami. That was like fun walking into the stadium and walking out of the stadium. How fun it is! And I don't know how you guys felt, but I was listening. I was like consuming all the coverage of this game, just trying to make sure I'm not recycling people's takes and just seeing what other people think. And Rico Beard on 97 won the ticket. He was at the game, and he said from wherever he was sitting that he had no idea the ball was intercepted, and just like saw everyone freaking out and was like, whoa, like how did that happen? So walk me through like just the interception, how loud it was, that, and then just like your exit from the stadium, how fun that probably was.
Interception, obviously, student section, everyone's standing.
Are you just hugging
Getting
people?
a little bit louder.
This whole
Everyone's hugging,
stadium.
and that's how it was. I mean, you see the throw, you see Brantley go up and come down with it, and so you see the players start celebrating, and that's when you start celebrating, and then it's complete chaos in the student section. You're finding everybody, giving them high fives. You're hugging random people. You don't even know what's going on in the field because you're just going absolutely berserk in the student section with random students.
Like if there's a penalty flag, you look like an idiot because at that point you're not even thinking about penalty flags.
You're not even thinking it. Like, because I relate this just like Kenneth's long touchdown, like the 58-yard touchdown. It's like when you're a student and you see him break for you probably know he's going to score. You kind of like black out. You don't even remember him crossing the goal line because you're already freaking out, jumping around, like hugging everybody around. But the interception, and then afterwards, when you finally take the final knee, Michigan State kind of rushes, like the players kind of rush on the field in like celebration. And it's the same thing. You're high-fiving everybody. You're hugging anybody that wants to give you a hug. Just thrilled and kind of shocked for the outcome. And then we kind of stood in the stadium just embracing it all because the players came over to the student section, sang the fight song in front of us with Paul Bunyan and the helmet on him. And then we saw the players kind of leave and mad dash till get out. But we kind of stayed and waited. I should probably backtrack a little bit because when we picked off the ball and the offense had to come on to take 2 knees, there were a file. I mean, like just a super line of people down the steps, just high-fiving everybody, screaming, "We're going. We're going." And it was just a matter
field rush
of
was happening.
we're rushing the field.
Oh, wow. That would have been so
Every
cool.
single student is saying, "We're rushing the field. We're jumping the wall. We're rushing the field."
You break your leg.
It's
Pretty
like,
fun drop.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. As soon as I start seeing people like jump over the wall, like, yeah, I'm right behind them. I look down, and the way that the student section is built, you have the tunnels, and then like there's a lower part of like the student section, so you have to kind of get down that way. There's probably like 8 cops at each entrance to that lower part, just blocking it off of each one. So there's probably at least like 50 police officers up in the stands, just blocking students, telling them no. And then you look down in the corner of the student section on the field, there had to be at least another 50 cops standing right there in the corner, just staring at us.
They didn't want it.
I'm trying to think about.
No.
I'm trying.
They didn't want it. I think they should have let it. I think it would have been a lot more fun to celebrate with the team. Obviously, I'm a little selfish here, but in like the middle of the field, because like one of the best things you see in college basketball, college football, is the mad dash of people onto the field.
Kind of scares me.
That would have been probably one of the more, I would say, most iconic moment in Michigan State football history. Like that would have been insane. Because no, I don't think I've ever seen a team rush the field in this rivalry ever.
No.
Michigan State, Spartan Stadium is almost impossible to rush the field at because, like, I think you're describing.
There's a staircase though,
but there's like that drop off from like the I call it the VIP student section there, like that lower chunk, and then the VIP ropes off, and then it's so you have to come down that and then down the big wall, and that's a lot to ask kids to do fast.
Yeah.
And like you said, the cops were all there. I guess this kind of turns in because I'm sure the cheers were loud on your guys' end if you go the good way or the bad way, but we'll get into more X's and O's. We're still big picture wise. What did you guys think was like the biggest play or turning point in this game? Which is hard to ask because there were so many, but like, what is that play in your mind? It's like, okay, that's where the game swung.
I would say for me, there's a lot. So I don't think that any answer is right or wrong. But for me, it was 4th and 4 when Thorne snaps it and throws a fade to Jaden Reed, catches it at the goal line. Michigan State scores right after that. If they don't get that, they're still down 16 or 17 or whatever it was. 16. And it's probably over at that point. I mean, I don't know for sure, but probably over. So I would say that was the biggest play in the whole game. They really turned momentum.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'll try to pivot one because, like you said, there are so many. Just so we'll know that probably would have been the one I'd go with. I said, I guess the natural Michigan fan one that's going to be burned in your mind, like Spate fumbling on the goal line or his pick six against Ohio State in 2016, is just going to be the JJ Blake Corum muffed exchange. It was It was 30. Was it 33-30? Yeah, it was 33-30 Michigan.
We just went through.
You kind of like it was weird. There's so many momentum shifts. So Michigan State has all the momentum. It's 30-30, and they stop. They stop Michigan, get the ball back 30-30 with the chance, and then Michigan has a great stop defensively, and then is able to get back up 33-30 with the ball, and then you fumble. And
first play of the drive.
First play of the drive too.
It's
after a great punt return to get you around midfield. That would be the turning point for me.
I gotta go with something different.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna go with that one as a little jab at all the Michigan fans that wanted JJ McCarthy to start and play more often. Turning point.
No wrong answers.
I understand that, but you have to go back earlier. And it's a small play, but I think the first 2-point conversion you could say is also a turning point where you're down 16. and you score, and you're like, okay, now we can get it to one possession. Like, if you don't get that 2-point conversion, now you're still down 2 possessions.
Confidence would take a hit.
Yes. Would the momentum still be on Michigan State's side? Absolutely. But I think it's a little more obtainable being down 8 instead of being down 10. And especially if somebody that we didn't really target that much throughout the entire game, and you find them in the back of the end zone for a completion for the 2-point conversion. And I think that play gave not only the fans, myself included, and I think the team a little bit more momentum and confidence. Like, hey, we're only down 1 possession here. Let's nut up and let's see what we can do. And then you turn around and you force a punt. And so now all the momentum's on your side. And you obviously scored a tied up 30-30. So I would say that first 2-point conversion, although Jaden Riggs is a better catch and all-around better play, I would say the first one is like a turning point towards getting the momentum and confidence back on your side.
It also was a good one to pick because it wasn't, an easy one. I would say, like, from watching back today, that was probably the top 5 throw from Thorne on the day. He had a couple other really nice ones, but that was like it's tight windows down there, and he let the play develop, didn't panic, and stuck it in there.
A little longer developing play. So as a fan, especially with my angle, you're like, oh my gosh, get rid of the ball already.
Yeah.
But
a sneaky one that I'll just throw in there that we probably would have hit anyways, but it felt like it set the tone for how the fourth quarter could potentially go, was just, and you guys talked to me about this, I guess that's another atmosphere thing we may have overlooked, was we've talked about when I went to Western Kentucky, but like that going into the fourth quarter light show that Spartan Stadium does now, although it would have looked better at night. I saw like a little video of it, but it looked sweet. Like both teams are going crazy to Mo Bamba. And then you come out of that and you send Ron Williams on like the jailhouse blitz. I believe it was Ron Williams.
No.
Was it not? Who was it?
Justin White. I believe he's like a walk-on. He hit the guy. Williams, it was in coverage.
Okay, that's right. Okay, yeah. So you send a corner, Justin White, I'll get his name right, on a corner blitz.
Transfer from D2. Colorado.
It was like 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. And although that's a positive situation for a defense, Michigan had been picking up a lot of those throughout the day. So I'm not sure how it was pretty much a 50-50 play, I'd say. And the blitz was just perfectly. There was receivers open, but obviously the blitz just messes up the whole play, especially when you see it late as a quarterback, and then that gets Michigan the chance to be able to get it to 30-30 on the next drive. So that was huge to take that chance on the blitz on like 3rd and 8 or 9. Like you just. As Hazelton probably just sat on that. Is Hazelton? He just sat on it all game waiting for that chance. Really. And it also had blitzed, I don't want to say the play before it, or it was that set of 3 downs, though. They blitzed a corner again on a run play, and he made a huge play. So just like sent those corner blitz at that time to get a stop there was huge because Michigan was getting close to, I think, around midfield by that point. So they were.
I think that play, I don't know if it's true or not, but in the stadium, the feel of it, Cade had to be banged up on it. That's why JJ was in back-to-back drives.
Oh, yes. I guess we can address that now.
I think Cade's ribs got.
Because that blitz, the kid tweeted out like photos from the game, and he tweeted out a picture of that exact collision moment.
Yes.
His helmet is dead in Cade's stomach. Like, there's an ultimate like rib and like gut shot that I know 100% there's no protection there. It did not feel well. Like
it definitely
maybe a bruised ribs or like at least loss of breath and like where you're not feeling 100%, so you're going to go with JJ.
And I guess that's a good point because that play leads into what happened with my turning point play is it's almost 100% confirmed now. I'm confident saying just from everything I've consumed from the Michigan side of things that that Cade, I don't know if necessarily was, I won't say he was in the blue tent, but it was confirmed he was working through something still. And that's why JJ started the next drive. Now, would they have started JJ on the drive anyways? Maybe because they've been doing that throughout the game. Who knows? Yeah. And it turns out, kind of a throw under the bus, but not really because you got to hold people accountable. And as I watched it back today, and Jim said in his press conference today, it's on Blake Corum just to hold on to the football. He went out and said that. And if you watch the play, it is not a play action pass. It is a outside zone with 2 pulling linemen to the left. And yes, the handoff was like a little bit. It was almost like
it looks like Corum didn't know it was a run.
It was on like Corum's like upper breast. I would say is where the handoff was. So it was not in his gut. And that's one of the things you talk about when you don't have a bell cow and you do. Hassan Haskins is way taller than Blake Corum, so maybe it was a muscle memory of just thinking it's Hassan Haskins there, and you hand it off a little too high. And also, to Alex's point, yeah, it did not look like
Corum didn't look back.
Didn't look like Blake Corum thought he was getting the ball. It was a clear run. It was not a pass.
It's just weird he did not look for the ball.
So I guess Michigan fans got the answer on that. I think like that was the instant reaction, I think, from Michigan fans after the game was like Jim and the staff blew it by tinkering with them too much, which you can argue they did anyways. But that specific play, I think it's pretty clear now that, one, I don't think K was available to be in that snap. And two, the running back has to hold on to the ball. So that's an interesting one there. I guess, is there any – I asked this question. I said, who stepped up, who shriveled up, which is not the way I should have phrased that. But I was trying to say shriveled or stepped up. Because in rivalry games, people make names for themselves. Are there any ones that really stood out to you that were like you expected? There's an obvious one. Like you guys can – let's use this time to praise Kenneth Walker III because he was obviously the best player on the field in that football game. And I guess you guys started off with what you saw from him.
Evan can go first.
Get as dramatic and hyperbole as you want, because I don't think you can be too dramatic.
I mean,
into what he did.
Dramatic and like lost in the moment of like the entire game. Michigan State does a terrible job of like feeding you stats throughout the game on the scoreboard. If you're like a watcher of like the live action plays,
was it down in distance right today? Because it was not good in the Western Kentucky game.
It was better.
It was. I would say it was on point.
I didn't
but
listen
like as they like feed the information through on the scoreboards, it's just like team stats. And hand up, I honestly did not know when I left the stadium that Kenneth Walker had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, a lot of
and
people
I did not know
he
had 194 rushing yards. I did not know until our friend Drew told me. He's like, he had 5 touchdowns, and I said, really? And I actually had to think about it. And I was like, well, yeah, he scored all the touchdowns.
I reminded multiple people in my section. They had no idea. They're like, how many do you have? 3? I'm like, no, he just scored his 5th. And they're like, oh my God, Heisman. It was one of those things. Also, because 2-point conversions play tricks on you. You see a guy catch a ball in the end zone, you think, oh, we must have had a passing touchdown today. But yeah, I mean, Alex, Kenneth Walker III, thoughts? Well, I have a bloody nose right now, so I'm battling. But
just keep chopping, baby. Keep chopping through the pot.
Through this segment. Kenneth Walker, TV doesn't do him justice. Let me just start there. In person, the dude is unbelievable. He's way faster in person than what he probably looks like on TV.
It's the black cleats.
His cuts in the holes, his ability to make people miss. No one takes good angles on him. And I don't think it's because the defenders are bad. I just think he's just, deceiving the defense at all times. The kid is unbelievable. If he's not in New York, I'll be pissed, to put it lightly. He deserves to be there. He could struggle the rest of the season. I doubt he will, but I mean, he is the best running back I've ever seen in Michigan State. And I'm confident saying that.
I think he's like plus 500 right now to win the Heisman, which is around where Matt Corral is. I think CJ Stroud's like plus 450, so he's tracking to be in New York.
Gotta be in New York.
You say like the whole doesn't do him justice if you're on TV. I would say it doesn't do him justice unless you rewatch the game. I was telling Alex Evan before this show, like I don't really rewatch many games with the intent of like taking notes and like really trying to see what happened. And I did today, and like you just watch those running plays that he breaks, not even all the touchdowns, just like some ones that you turn into 80-yard gains are unfathomable. The way that large of a human being is able to like stop and then just completely change direction. And he almost has like a sixth sense type thing where like there was one where Josh Ross is coming at him from like a 45-degree angle from the opposite direction. And he like he must feel him and then just dips his left shoulder, pushes him past him, and then runs for like 8 yards.
His vision is ridiculous.
Is insane. And the like quick on his feet, like I'm sure I just imagine that the way he cuts is like if you gave Kenneth Walker a jump rope, I bet he'd look like a boxer. Like the way he's just able to move his feet quickly. And I'll be the hyperbole guy. I'm looking it up now to make sure I'm not crazy. Now I'm going to caveat like kind of a wimp, but I think it's fit. You're not out of line if you say that Kenneth Walker is a better runner of the football than Saquon Barkley was at Penn State. There's no doubt in my mind that they're the same, if not Kenneth Walker's better. And so just for a quick comparison here, I guess Saquon's best year of college was his sophomore year, 272 rushing attempts for 1,496 yards and 18 touchdowns. As we sit right now, Kenneth Walker's at 175 rushing attempts, 1,200 rushing yards. So that's about He's got 300 more to go, which with 4 games plus more to go, and then
14 touchdowns.
And then 14 touchdowns, and that was 14 games for Saquon. Right now, 8 games for Kenneth Walker. He should be able to get close to the 12 to 13 mark, obviously. So, and obviously I say runner of the football because Saquon, those all-purpose scrimmage yards, because I would say Saquon's obviously a better receiver of the football and like pass-catching threat. I mean, they used to use him on like deep post plays at Penn State. I vividly remember one against Michigan, but it's not unreasonable to say that he's a better runner of the football than Kenneth Walker. I mean, he's up there with dominant backs in college football. I would say he's probably still, unless he really balls out the rest of the year, he's still a rung below Ezekiel Elliott. But when you talk about Big Ten running backs, he's a better runner of the football than Saquon Barkley. It's absolutely insane. And he's like, you legitimately watched a man backpack his team to a victory in like the biggest rivalry game in the series history and biggest game of the season. And you think about how like obviously he's charged up because he wants to play and all that, but it even adds to it that like it was so funny I was listening to his press conference that he was getting caught up on the whole Michigan State rivalry this week, and he had never seen the trouble with the snap play until this week. He didn't even know like what it was. And to think like that guy just brought like the hammer in this rivalry game that we all care about so much and know all these players is like super impressive.
He did not watch NFL football until he was like 17 years old.
It kind of made me feel like a because he was like, yeah, I just didn't have time to watch TV when I was a kid. I was too busy playing sports and like all that.
Sports and lifting. That
kind of rings true with me, but I still like found time to play video games and watch sports. So you can tell that that's why Kenneth Walker's a different human being than us and most people.
He has better stats through 8 games than Derrick Henry did when he won the Heisman.
It's pretty good.
I mean, he's up there in this last decade of running backs.
1,000%. Jonathan Taylor's, your Ezekiel Elliott's.
He's ridiculous.
He might be a one-year wonder shooting star in the Big Ten, but I guess as State fans and I guess fans of football.
Selfishly, I hope he comes back.
Fans of football should just enjoy him while you have him. So that's the Kenneth Walker praise. I guess I'll go quickly on the Michigan side. The obvious name is Andre Anthony. Breakout performance from him in this game. I think the stat was he had 17 routes run, 1 target going into this game, which makes me in the back of my mind go,
no catches? Right?
What? Yeah, no catches. What took him so long? And like, was this a classic case of the staff like not playing him? Kind of like now Monday Night Football's on. Is it like Kadarius Toney, where like he got to play because Roman Wilson and Dalen Baldwin have suffered through injuries, and he just gets to go. He said he found out Monday that he was going to be involved heavily in this game, like play a lot. So interesting, stepped up. There was a cool narrative there. Evan, go ahead.
I had one point, now that you say that Monday he figured out that he was going to get involved, so the coaches have a game plan going into it, and then you look at the stats and like the distribution between pass and run. Prior, Michigan was heavy on run, so you think more heavy personnel, but you rewatch the film, it is a lot of 4 wide, most of the time even 5 wide. Yes, I know like Corum would be like the 5th wide receiver, but I think that just helped him getting involved even more. Yes, your 2 top wide receivers are out, but I think it's the next man up. But also the game plan going in, like we're going to throw the ball on Michigan State because of the way that they're aligned and their defensive scheme.
100%. That's a great point because in Cal Halliday's and Henderson's press conference, they reiterated just like our game plan all week was to stop the run. They don't show any pass really on offense. So I think that would be a positive for a Michigan fan that your coaching staff was smart enough to go into this game realizing you can't put them in a phone booth, like I say. They still tried to at times. That old little habit did come out, and we can get to it later when we get into more specific nitty-gritty plays. But Andre Anthony stepped up. There was a cool narrative that he was an East Lansing kid. He kept saying it was like his homecoming game for him. And I did not know he had burners like that. Briefly on that play, that was like I guess Michigan State had the ball first, but that was like one of those where you weren't even really settled into the game yet, and then you have it like a 93-yard play should not happen that early into the game. That's like unfair for everyone. That's like what just happened. I don't even know how to think.
It's tough to process. For sure.
Credit to Cade for the ball on that, because if he doesn't put that ball right in stride, there's no chance that scores because it was just like perfectly slant play. And I don't know. I guess. You look confused.
Just wondering why Steve Young has wide receiver gloves on.
Okay.
In this
not Steve Young.
Sorry.
My other guy that when I really have anything really good to say about, I guess, would just be Cade McNamara. I'd be curious to see your guys' thoughts on him before I give mine, just like as a opponent or as a fan of the other team in that game. What did you think about his performance in the rivalry game?
I just want to touch on Andrew Anthony real quick.
Go ahead.
I just felt it was very comparable to Ricky White last year. Kind of the same thing. You just don't have any film on true freshmen, and they just come in, and that's how they surprise you. I also heard in a different podcast that Michigan saves their freshmen for big games. I don't know why. I don't know why they do that. I don't know if that's a real thing, but it definitely showed. And then now to Cade. I thought Cade played way better than I ever could have expected. I wouldn't say I was super down on him. I just wanted to see more.
You're a JJ guy.
I was a small JJ guy.
I'm sure you'll walk that back by the end of the pod. You can walk it back now if you want.
But, I kept saying every week I wanted to see more from Cade. Threw the ball 44 times. He made a lot of throws that I didn't think he could make. He made some very impressive throws over the middle, off his back foot, dropping over a linebacker. People act like that's a normal throw. But I can tell you right now, any of us three, if we try to make it, it's a pick every time. So,
as a former what's it called? West Haven football quarterback, not an easy throw to make.
Off your back foot over a linebacker, just no chance. He impressed me. I'm not going to sit here and say he's, some great QB and that Michigan's future is extremely bright with him at quarterback. I still think he's a game manager. He didn't make any wow throws. He didn't make any 50-yard bombs to the sideline, dropped in a bucket. He didn't do any of that, but he made the right throws. He was poised, and I came out with more respect for him than I expected to. He is a good player.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this time. Come on, man, on Monday Night Football, Taylor Lewan. We'll get to that later. But
God, he's a loser.
I feel like I'm willing to say after watching him against Michigan State is that, like, he is still a game manager, but I think I would say I'd put him in the bucket where he can go win you a game. Like, I know he didn't technically do it because he had a chance on 2 drives to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe I still have to reserve that. But I feel like if, let's say, Michigan's down 6 points to Penn State with 40 minutes to go,
I think he can.
I feel okay with Cade as quarterback. I don't feel like it's just, like, hopeless, So I feel like he can go win a game, but I agree with what you're saying. Like, a lot of the throws were just, like, he made good throws, but also some of them were, like, wide open. He had good anticipation to get him there.
He put the ball on the money, but he didn't. It's not like Michigan State was forcing him to make 10-yard throws to the opposite side of the field to the sideline, like NFL-type throws. He wasn't forced to do that, but with all his intermediate throws, he hit them, and he hit them in stride. So you can't fault him. And
I would say the big shift that we hadn't really seen, like the nickname check down Cade, which was valid at the time, is that his yards per attempt in this was 8.8, almost 9 yards, which was impressive. 28 of 44, like you said, so it's about 64%. 383 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I guess the maddening thing is if you had asked any Michigan fan if Cade is like 17 yards short of 400 yards passing, like you think, obviously, I would think Michigan would win the game by 10 if I knew that. Or that means they're getting blown out and they had to come from behind like the whole game. But that's not the case. So it's just like I don't know how when you look at the stats, it's just it makes it even more depressing that like they couldn't figure it out to win the game. Yeah.
I got a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Sean Clifford or Cade?
Cade.
I had to take I'm recency biased, I'm taking Cade.
I'm taking Cade. I think that we can all agree. Which says a lot.
I don't know if they're that different.
No, Clifford doesn't wow me.
Cade did show me one thing this game where he actually scrambled and it worked out well, which is that was for diehard Michigan fans that's brand new. Has not done that once this year where it's been a first down scramble, which I know you guys are used to with Peyton Thorne. He did that in this game at least once, and he's done it throughout the year. Like that's not something Cade does, and he did it twice almost. So that was good to see.
Evan, what did you think of Cade?
He was efficient and he knew the game plan and he took what was given to him. He knew the middle of the field was going to be open a lot and he found the matchups across the middle. It was frustrating because I thought going into the game, I thought we had an advantage at the quarterback spot. As the game progressed, it was one of the areas where he had or played better or had more confidence than our quarterback.
Yeah, and also I would say it helps. Michigan State got no pressure on him. I mean, he had all day. He sat in the pocket. He had his time. He got the ball.
We didn't have any
quick.
sacks. There were multiple plays where Cade stood in there and released the ball right before we got to him.
Or even
And
faded
credit to
away.
him for standing in there.
Yeah, or he even faded. Like there was there was one where he was slightly rolling to his right and like leaning back and threw it over Panishuk's hand, who dropped back into coverage and dropped it in like there were some insane throws. And then also the ball that he threw to Sanders still to make it 30-14. When you watch that from the end zone view on the replay, like talk about anticipation. He threw that ball when all the players that were in the middle field were lined up, and he just knew Henderson was too far back, and that Sanderson was going to be underneath him and let it. And he threw it kind of, we've watched Stafford for years, but it was like a little sidearm sling, which I hadn't seen him do much this year, ever. And so that was, I don't know. So I guess that's the only praise I'll heap on the main two Michigan players that had pretty good games.
Is it safe to say the JJ over Cade talk for the rest of this year is over?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to get me all hot and bothered. I think it was just like absolutely moronic that the way they try to sprinkle JJ into this game as it progressed. Like, it made no sense. I went back and was just watching the drives, and like
Cade was doing
it'd be like Cade. Okay, for just a microcosm, that throw when you talk about how loud the stadium was, that throw, they get it, and then they get a first down, and then boom, bring JJ in to run the ball, and then it stalls out for a field goal. It's like, why are you bringing in JJ on 1st and 10s makes the least amount of sense because it's the most obvious rushing down, and you rush with him all the time. The management of JJ in the game, honestly, after I watched Cade throw the first play to Andre Anthony, I don't think I need to see much JJ. Like, if you know a kid, they know Cade well enough that he's a competitor, that he's going to be, when he's on, he's on. You don't need to see him. Like, you don't need to see much JJ.
That could be a good transition to your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh. I
mean, well, one second. People can talk about, like, oh, Grant, like, yeah, but JJ made that throw to Andre Anthony. Cade can make that throw. Like, what are we talking? That wasn't an amazing throw. He waited so long to throw it, and he just put it high enough. Like, it was just a good play action play, and Andre was fast and he was open. Like, it actually wasn't a great throw. If you let him into the corner, he wouldn't have had to contest for the ball. That's a different story.
That ball should have been thrown in the corner.
It's just like there were so many times when things were moving, and then it'd be a 1st and 10, and it's like JJ's in. Or JJ would start a drive on 1st and 10. They'd run the ball for 2 yards. It's like, what are you doing?
I could say the guys in my section would cheer for joy every time JJ came in. And obviously ended up fumbling later.
I mean, he essentially had 2 nice plays. He had one read option where he kept it for a first down, and Clavaris tackled him, and they had a funny little exchange where they were like, everyone's fired up in the rivalry game, and then he made a goodish throw to Andre Anthony. But obviously, when your quarterback's hurt in the 10th because of a quarterback blitz, you do have to have him in the game. So it just it was actually really interesting. We don't have to get deep into it, but it was I'm not going to call it conspiracy theory, but on 97.1 a day, I tuned in for, the Valenti and Rico show, and Valenti's like, do you think it's something to do with, like, JJ's parents, and, like, they just are nervous that he'll transfer out? Because obviously Cade is eligible to play next year, and it's like...
Today's college football.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. It's a really tough situation, but at some point you just got to sack up and be like, hey, like, have a discussion with both that we have to, after what you saw, like, we have to just ride one of you. And I don't know. They might lose one. Who knows? It also just hurts. I wasn't alive really during it, but it just, from everything I hear, it just feels like it's like the Drew Henson, Tom Brady situation. None of these guys are probably going to be that good ever. But like the fact that like they just keep, like, I just want to say this. I just feel bad for Cade McNamara after that game. Like, that kid played his balls off. He did make a pick, whatever. It was not a bad throw. It was just an unbelievable defensive play.
He's a great driver.
And like, the kid's a competitor, and he cares so much, and he's like such a better leader compared to Joe Milton that I appreciate him so much more. And you know how demoralizing it has to feel? Like, you watch JJ go in, he gets a negative 1 yard carry, and then it's 2nd and 11, and now you have to clean up his mess. It's like, that just sucks. Like, just let the kid make his, like, if he's going to lose the game, make him lose it. And shout out to Cade for going on that podium after the game and saying, like, I lost the game. I know there was that clip, we can address that briefly, where he said, like, he thought it was PI. But
he was referring to the first 4th down?
Yes. No, I don't think it really was. Like, it could have been. It's a call that people get. And honestly, I would tell Michigan State fans, do not hold that against Cade. I think he was just caught up in the moment and hadn't seen a replay and just thought, like, someone had to get hit. I don't think he said himself they lost the game because of how he played. He took all the blame for the game, put it on himself. So like he did say he thought it should have been PI, but he didn't mean it in like a whiny like that's why we lost the game way at all. He was just saying I thought it was in the moment. So I will clarify that because that has been a theme for Michigan players post game and pre game of just saying really shit in this rivalry. So he did not mean it like that.
Having anything to add?
Nah, for those topics.
Let's hit on Mel Tucker. What a job this guy has done at Michigan State. And obviously it's still continuing. It's going to be a very fascinating storyline just to see how far he can take this team. And like it's almost like a changing of you talked about earlier, Evan, how that play in 2015 changed the way like history of college football. I almost think the blueprint Mel Tucker's laid out for a fast rebuild in college football could be changing a blueprint with the transfer portal. Like you have to. I know people write articles about it, and The Athletic has great ones, but like the praise that this man should get for just from what I've heard, he built like a transfer recruiting department. Like there's 3 guys on Michigan State staff that all they do is
Michigan State's football department is built like an NFL front office, and that's like that transfer portal is free agency to them.
And like I think, obviously there's probably teams out there that do the same thing that we don't know about, but it feels like they're like trendsetters in this space with how early and how new these rules are, that he worked it the way he did, and the fact that they found a Heisman candidate in the transfer portal to help you win this game. Do you guys ever think, after listening to like Mel Tucker speak and just like how good he is at everything, that like, he could be a robot? Like sometimes I look at this guy and I don't know if he's like a real human being. Like he seems too perfect.
I can't imagine what his days are like. I mean, he's like so laser focused on everything, and he just does everything right so far. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to be the greatest coach ever, but there's a lot to like through his first season and 8 games or whatever. So his first 15 games. Yeah, I mean, he's been unbelievable. More than I could have expected.
Way more.
Yeah. And Evan,
100% way more expected.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I love D'Antonio and all that, but I mean,
you don't have to compare him, honestly.
I'm not comparing him. It's just, I feel like I heard this and I thought it was a pretty good take that Mel is kind of like saving how Mark D'Antonio ended his tenure, because it looked like it was going to be super dark for a bunch of years after Mark retired, whatever you want to call it. And then Mel all of a sudden goes in the transfer portal, and you got one COVID year, and all of a sudden you're 8-0, and it's November 1st, and we're talking about Michigan State being in the top 5 in the college football playoff rankings, which is crazy. I would never have expected this. If someone told me this a year ago, I would have laughed at him.
Well, you did predict they'd be 7-0. I did. Thought they'd win this game.
I did predict Michigan State would be 7-0 in July or something. I'm just really smart college football analyst, but yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I just hope that Michigan State does whatever they can to keep him. You can't let him leave.
Evan, do you think because as a fan, I mean, I can't say anything about it now, but like this whole Mel Tucker has this like vision of like the brand and like all these like buzzwords of the deep end, the woodshed, keep chopping.
He's a phrase guy.
Relentless, and like it just seems so corny and like weird. But like, I honestly think the way I picture this guy is like they went in the locker room, and when they were down 30-14, and he says keep chopping, he has all these kids so bought into like how imposing a figure he is. They're like, yep, like that's all we have to do.
Evan, wait. I had another follow-up question to that. Just, you've been around him while he's coaching.
True.
Can you just talk about his presence? Just like, how does it feel to be around that guy? Does he just demand respect, demand excellence? You just want to be better when you're around him. That's how I assume it is.
Because I was a little schoolgirl, because I was there. But he walks into the practice facility, and all eyes are on him. He is the face of the program now. He's kind of like co-face of the program because Kenneth Walker. But the demand of respect, the intensity, and the professional or do your job mantra, like every single rep, every single time, you have to get better. I think that's what he demands. And I think the players, like Rain said, with all these catchphrases, they're bought in. Because obviously the players that weren't bought in, they're no longer on the team. And to get all those transfers, I think it was something that you had to buy into him because players weren't be able to visit. They didn't get to see anything. And so they're playing for the head coach personally. They weren't playing for the stadium. They weren't playing for the uniforms. They weren't playing for the campus. They were playing for the new head coach that came and said, we want you on our roster. We want you buying into our system. The job that he's done, I don't know. I can't think of anything that you can compare it to. Recent memory, like the closest thing you could say is LSU and Joe Burrow. But, I mean, that was like one guy, and a lot of the other kids were just highly recruits, and Joe Brady made that team, not Ed Orgeron.
Right. And I just think the big thing with Tucker, like Thorne said after the game, there's not a coach I would rather play for. I mean, all the players love him. They all respect him. He gets everyone ready to go. The team never thinks they're out of it. And this team, talent-wise, is not even one of the more talented teams we've had, probably. There's been more talented teams in the D'Antonio era. And yet this team just finds ways every single week. And it's mind-blowing. I don't know what that guy does, but I need his regimen. And make me a better person.
So I swear, I just want like a day in the life.
Can I just follow Mel around for like 1 week? I'm sure my life would improve drastically.
I think like it's a combination of like his, because you can't deny it, like his look, his build, like it strikes fear in you. And then I also think like he made this comment that he had lost his voice. He says he only yells in enthusiasm. I think maybe Evan can confirm in practice that's not always the case, that he does yell when he's mad. But like, I almost think maybe as the season goes on, he just like almost gives us like, I'm just disappointed in you for not doing your job. Like it's like he strikes his fear, but then also like you don't hate him. You want to do well for him, and you have to take him seriously because of how like put together and like even when he was on like game day, I didn't get to see it, but people were saying like his just suit was so crisp, the tie was perfectly knotted. Like the guy's a perfectionist, and he never like looks disheveled or puts himself in a bad light in public. And I think that probably like that detail and all that has to trickle down throughout the program.
His kids probably feel so much pressure to be perfect all the time. God, that probably sucks.
This is the parallel I want to draw. I mean, I don't think it's a reach. It's just, I don't know why it dawned on me. I was just thinking about the programs. I think we're watching like a Mel Tucker and Juwan Howard are kind of comparable figures right now in like the sports. Like if you think about Juwan came in, had like a, I don't know, not terrible first year. It wasn't great. And then vaults them to like massive success in year two. And he's kind of that similar, like imposing figure, has been around the block, like, has a little. They both have a little swag element where they relate to the younger kids. Like I think we could be on this thing where it's like different sports, but in this, at least in our state, like Mel Tucker and Juwan Howard are kind of similar figures, at least in my mind, of how they're like revamping a program. Now the natural thing is like I think Juwan took over the program in a better spot than Mel walked into, so he had to do more. But also, you can't work the portal as much. But Juwan worked the portal in year one and got.
I mean, he brought in a number one recruiting class,
a point guard, and so I think that's something interesting to just keep in mind. Like there is something to be said, like cool coaches that know what they're doing. Like that really is huge in today's society. And I think we're watching like Mel Tucker do it.
Evan, would you take any other college coaches over Mel Tucker right now? This is a tough question. Like if you were starting now and you get a guy,
I mean,
who are you picking?
Probably Nick Saban.
Right.
I mean.
But let's say, other than Nick Saban, because that's the obvious choice, how many coaches are you taking ahead of him? I can think of one for sure, I think, maybe. And none of them are for sure.
I really like Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley was the name that came to
I don't know
mind.
how you do in the Big Ten, but I think he's a genius.
His offense is crazy. I love that. But other than him, it's hard to think of many.
I mean, like I know people are trying to say now that Dabo's only good with a generational QB, but still, like what he did at Clemson could be kind of similar. Like Clemson was a laughing stock that always lost the big game, and he like
Clemson's the blueprint. So
I mean, Dabo is up there. He's cringy though. I don't like him better than Mel. I think Mel's a easier to swallow person. But were those the names you were thinking of?
He's got a lot.
I mean, you guys go around college football and look at the success stories. I mean, Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, Dabo Sweeney, Kirby Smart.
That was a Kirby disciple.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mel coached an NFL team.
Oh.
People forget this.
He was
an interim head coach, and he was in the running to take over an NFL franchise.
He was handed a good situation, but I think Ryan Day's a genius, and he kept the program going. He didn't fumble the bag, so I think there's something to be said there.
It's always fun to take offensive genius head coaches.
But if we're having this discussion, I'm taking Mel.
But Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley was kind of like the same situation where you had this Hall of Fame coach in front of you, and you kind of force him out because of how good this young coach is behind you. Otherwise, that young coach is going to leave and take over a different program.
Mel Tucker or Urban Meyer right now?
Mel Tucker.
Wait.
There's too much stuff going around with Urban Meyer, even in the college level.
Right.
I'm not speaking what he does in the NFL. I'm thinking Urban Meyer's a college coach. There's too much baggage there where, yes, he's won national championship, but there's too much baggage, and Mel Tucker moves around.
Now, I know you hate James Franklin, but nationally he's liked. Is it Mel over James?
Nationally, he's liked for no reason because he hasn't won anything. The only reason he is relevant is because he had one player, and we already talked about that one player.
Grant?
If he never had Saquon Barkley, he would not be at Penn State.
Does he? I don't know if I wouldn't want him to start now, but does he stay above?
If you're hiring a head coach, your athletic director, are you hiring Mel Tucker or James Franklin?
Well, I think James Franklin. So I'd hire Mel Tucker. Now this guy I also don't like just because of the teams, but I think Brian Kelly may have a case.
I would be tough for me to do that.
He's I know Notre Dame's easy to recruit to, and their schedule sometimes isn't the toughest every year because they're independent. But his program was in a dark spot under him, and he was able to revive them. And they've had multiple playoff appearances. I think he has a case. As much as I don't like him, he has a case.
All right, Evan. Now my last question. Quick question. If you're the athletic director of Michigan State, Mel Tucker's currently making around $5.5 million with $6 million in bonuses. The top 10 coaches paid, I think he's 13. Top 10 is in the $7 million range, so it'd be a $2 million raise. Do you give it to him now, or do you wait and take the risk that he might leave?
You give it to him at the end of the season, but you already had discussions going in. Currently, you already have discussions with him saying, Mel, you've done a fantastic job so far, and we'd like to give you the benefit for doing that and keeping you around. There's a video of Alan Haller celebrating on the field and his enthusiasm towards the football program.
Former player.
I think he played football.
Yeah,
yes, former player. So the comments I have in the athletic director now, I have confidence that he will do the right thing. And the more that they talk to Izzo about everything, because Izzo is the face of the university, there's no way he leaves, in my opinion, unless he really has a vision where he wants bigger and better things. But Michigan State has all the resources, and anything that he asks is going to happen.
Would you make him a top 5 coach in college football if they won the Big Ten this year?
You mean
top
paid?
5? If we won the Big Ten, yes, absolutely. I would give him a blank check and say, write your number on it.
That would be based on it'd be about $7,700 million. That would slot him in just above Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
but also from that top.
It's like the NFL quarterbacks. Every single new year, there's a new high-paid NFL quarterback.
You just don't want to fall under Scott.
College football, every single year, there's going to be a new high-paid head coach.
Right,
just supply and demand.
To keep Mel Tucker, likely he's going to need to be paid more than Ryan Day is making, and that's just how the new quarterback gets his contract. That's just how it's going to go.
I think Mel at the end of the season will get to close to the $7 million, which would put him in front.
Correct.
So I guess we can use that briefly to spin off of DM we asked for some questions from listener fan Cam. We really appreciate it. He had some strong words that will not be read in full on the show. But the gist is kind of goes into that swagger of the head coach that we just brushed on and comparing Jim Harbaugh to Mel Tucker. And it wasn't the worst game I've ever seen Jim Harbaugh be involved in, obviously, with coaching and mistakes. But there's this theme of as a Michigan fan, I don't know how people feel. It's when you just look at the sideline, he doesn't give you confidence. When I look at Mel,
because he's mouth breathing?
It's just he has a confused and bewildered face at nearly all times unless a touchdown is being scored. It's just it's like
his mouth is always open.
Or he's
I think he has lost his enthusiasm. If you go back and watch the highlights from Michigan the first 2 years, he was emphatic on the sideline nonstop.
Does he want to be at Michigan anymore?
I think it's part of you guys. not to go back to like high school, but I remember there were we'd hear stories from the kids that were older as in high school and say like when that coach got here, they were up everyone's but like he would make them run suicides every day at practice for messing up. And then we get there and he's like, oh yeah, like if you guys want to be good, you'll lift yourselves. And then he told us at the end of the year, like you guys were 500 because you were a 500 team in the weight room. It's like, well, where were you like up our butts to do? It's like, I just don't have that same drive anymore. Like, I think that's kind of what we're seeing.
Fantastic comparison.
We're like, I don't know. He was all in it. He had that chip on his shoulder. I do think there's part of it this year where it's like we talked about the energy of they found their groove with these young assistant coaches to like, you know, jump around, take other people's momentum. So there's some of that. Like Harbaugh's not like he used to throw his hat on the field and get 15 yarders. He's not doing that.
I think I'd rather have him do that.
I don't know. I mean, you don't want your coach to look like a whiny baby as well. Like it's no fault. I mean, it is his fault to his own, but like that's just who he is. He's not a coach that instills confidence in you as a fan on the sideline. Whereas like you look at Mel, even my mom watching, she goes, God, that Michigan State coach, like I'd want to play for him. Look at him. Like he looks like a guy. And I was like, yeah, Mom. Like, and then look at Jim, his old. I mean, Jim looks in better shape now, but Jim's getting older and it just looks like he's withering away almost. And it's like he just doesn't instill confidence the way he does. And like Cam made a point to call about how just like the stones on Mel Tucker. And like there's some plays here where I went through my game notes. Bear with me. I'm trying to figure out the first time where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. Okay, here we go. It was the second quarter, folks, 13-7. So Michigan had a 3rd and 1 at about midfield, and they had a bad execution on the play, like trying to run a gap, and then it makes it 13. Oh no, this is Michigan State. I'm so sorry. Second quarter, Michigan State is losing 13-7. It's a 3rd and 1 play. Thorne keeps the read option. And remember, he was running towards the sideline, and he couldn't really outstretch the ball, and he got ran out of bounds to make it 4th and 1. Okay, in Michigan State, again, context people, second quarter, Michigan State is down 13-7, 4th and 1 on Michigan's 48. So about midfield and what can still be called a Big Ten football buffet because no one's going crazy, and they go for it. And like that is a play I 100% know that Jim Harbaugh's punting. There's no chance Michigan, I don't know. Maybe against Rutgers they go for it. Maybe against Northwestern they go for it. They're not going for that against Michigan State. They proved that in this game. There was a time earlier in the game where I was cussing him out, and my mom's like, wow, he's really mad. Like, Grant's really mad. Jim for not going for it there. I was like, yeah, you're not – I said in the first quarter you will not win this game with field goals. Wow, how true that proved out to be. And not also, this goes on again to the point made in the DM is like, not only does Michigan State go for it there, like – it's a recurring theme when Mel gives the green light to go for it. It's like a home run play. It's like if we're gonna go down, we're gonna go down with a swing. That play was he
does not mess around.
That play on 4th and 1 was a fake handoff dive, fake reverse to Jane Reed, lofted up seam shot to Jalen Naylor. That almost didn't work because Hutchinson was in Thorne's face. So shout out Thorne for getting that ball. If he just kind of threw it up like a pop fly and it was enough, and Daxton Hill came in and saved the touchdown that was made off of it, but like. The fact that he has the stones in the second quarter to run that play call, like a Michigan move, if Jim were to go for it, that's an A-gap dive that gets stuffed or it makes it. Like there's no trick play there. There's no like, let's catch them with their pants down. And then the wherewithal to then be like, let's no huddle because Mike be down for some reason. Mike be down, so I touch on that. This proved like he's you know, like
there yet.
As much as I want to get mad at him, like I don't know, it's first year defensive coordinator, biggest game of his life in the biggest role. Like, yeah, tough. Like he's just gonna have to learn that you can't substitute when the offense doesn't substitute. And if it happens again, I'm gonna be really mad. But like, it should have been cleaned up halfway through the game. It happened like 7 times, which is inexcusable in itself. It just better never happen again. Just figure out a plan that if they're not substituting, you're not. But Michigan State hits the 4th and 1. What do they do instead of relaxing? They get on the ball, they go for it, and that's when Kenneth Walker has that kind of dive in at the pylon touchdown. When I shit you not,
Michigan had 20 guys.
There was 6 guys that like weren't even. It was so funny. It was an outside zone blocking scheme to the right, and like it looked like a screen because 3 of the offensive linemen had free releases to the secondary. Like the safeties were being blocked out of the end zone.
The easiest touchdown.
It was unbelievable, and like even if it didn't work, it's still a flag. It's like. So that's a microcosm there. And then there was it was 4th and 2. It was 4th and 2 on Michigan State's like 20-yard line in the first quarter, and I was screaming, just go for it. Like it's 7-0. You got a gift early touchdown, not a gift, but like you got a touchdown that you were not expecting in this game that early. Like go for it and try to get this to 14-0. It's 4th and 2. If you trust your running offense that much, you'll figure it out. And they didn't, and they kicked the field goal to 10-0. So just like little plays like that sum up the point that was made by one of our fans. It's just like Jim, one, does not instill confidence in you as you watch him. He's not a badass. He's just kind of like there. And two, like you don't see those kind of things from Michigan. They actively try not to lose the game. They don't try to go and win the game. That's pretty much the best way to sum it up.
To follow up Cam's message, what's it take for you to be done with Harbaugh?
Well, I know it's a slippery slope.
It is. You're still 7-1.
So I'll reiterate, because obviously we'll have new listeners for this massive show, is that I wanted him gone. Wanted him's fair. I feel so, even though I always say like fire someone upon loss, it's more of a joke. I really feel dirty saying like this guy needs to be fired. Like, I don't know. I just feel dirty about it. Like, I did want him. I was ready for a new coach after Michigan lost to Indiana last year. The week after the Michigan State game, I was like, all right, if they bounce back and beat a solid Indiana team, I'll be like, okay, let's see how the season goes. They lost that. I was like, okay, let's use the COVID year. But it turns out no one really fired their coach in the COVID year, which may have been smart because it's like that year kind of sucked for everyone. Come back this year, 7-0. We talked about it last show, I think, where like Evan made a great point. Is like all these assistants that you like, which, you know, after a game like this, I still have hope for Mike McDonald. I think he's 33. He's young. He's gonna take his lumps. Like my overall dream is that maybe he can come into like a Jim Leonard role where like he's more confident and he has these boys firing. But right now he's 33. It's his first year. He kind of pissed down his pants in his biggest game so far. But I'm not gonna hold that against him. But it makes me think like, okay, is it that bad if all these assistants leave? I don't know. So essentially, I'm to the point where you said, what's it gonna take?
Yep. I mean, well, I'll just lay this out. Michigan wins the rest of their games, except Ohio State. They lose by 3 touchdowns. You win or lose the bowl game, who cares? Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm fine if they do. I really wouldn't care. Like I wouldn't be like, oh my God, it might set the program back a couple of years, but it's something that like I've accepted because like I don't see.
Would you take Luke Fickell over Harbaugh right now?
Yes.
Matt Campbell?
Yes.
PJ Fleck?
No.
Evan? Thoughts?
Speaking for what he wants.
He did have a good year there. I don't.
Evan, would you take PJ Fleck over Mel Tucker? Because I know you love PJ.
No.
Sorry, PJ. Like, it's just the way I can describe it is where you want sad, Grant, as I pour my third Smirnoff of the day. We just want to get into it. It's just like, I asked Alex this, and I know, and I understand you guys had some dark years. You had a 3-9 year. You had some tough years.
We haven't had it as bad.
But
I'm not
like,
going to try to kid you.
I just want you guys to always be grateful that your program has like won that you need to win this game. Like you want to puke level nervousness game. Because I was reflecting after this Michigan game, and like Michigan's never done it. I mean, I was talking to one Michigan fan that was like left over from the tailgate when we got back. He's like, yeah, I mean, we beat Penn State in that big game on the revenge tour year. I go, yeah, but like, that's not like I want to puke in my mouth if we lose game. Like, I'm talking about the Ohio State games. This game was a puke in my mouth game. They just fall short, and I just don't know. After 7 years, is it going to change? Like, it just almost – I'm not angry anymore. It's the classic I'm disappointed. I'm apathetic. I am indifferent. I am numb to this football team. And, like, I wrote down, like, not to get, but this is what our fans should know. This loss fundamentally changed, like, how I'm thinking about my Michigan fandom. Not in a sense, like, I'm not jumping ship. I'm not a poser. I'm just saying, like, for the sake of this podcast as well, there's Michigan fan Grant, and then there's, like, national – unbiased Grant. Like Michigan fan Grant from going forward in a big game will never think Michigan will win going into it. It's changed. This game changed it. This game was on a thread.
Won't.
No, it will. I said Michigan 27-26 because I was like, this could be this. I felt good about this team, and they blew this game. And now it's like you're going to ask me what the Ohio State score is going to be. It's not. I'm not picking Michigan to win. I'm not going to think that they're going to win, and it's going to have to take like I'm going to be the surprise guy. Like, oh my god, I can't believe they did it. Which I probably should have gotten there 3 years ago. Now I'm finally there. It's over. It's just like they're going to lose every big game that I see.
Evan, what are your thoughts on Harbaugh? The real harsh reality thoughts.
The real harsh reality thoughts?
Like, get after him if you want to.
How harsh do you want these?
I want him to be as honest and truthful as you can possibly be. I don't want you to hold back because we're on a podcast.
The honest and truthful opinion is that this is the problem that the Michigan fans created when they hired Harbaugh, is to build up an anticipation that he was the savior of the program and lead them to new heights that the program hasn't seen since Lloyd Carr took over. Yeah, you had some dark years and you always thought, okay, it was the coaching and staff, but the time in college football has changed where when you build up something so high in your minds, when it doesn't happen, you need reality check of the people that's expecting that from them.
I think,
yeah, now Harbaugh has not won as many games, and like he's had a lot of big games like there, but he's 1 or 2 plays away from changing the narrative of his career. He's a successful coach. He has a winning record no matter where he's at. But I think I dare I say it's the brand and what the fans are expecting from him, and a reality check. I think the fans need to check themselves to what you should expect.
Do you guys want to go there? Like, we want to get deep? Just as simple as you can say it.
I think it hurts even more now that Michigan State is like successful and has been more successful recently. That when you look at like, well, they're doing it, why can't we? And we are better than them.
Here it is.
Because that you builds up, you always like those fans always feel like we're better than them.
Well, when
that them is Ohio State, Michigan State. When reality checks, they're just not.
Here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
From 1994. This is from a Michigan slappy on Twitter. I think his name was Don Thomas or Don. He actually made a good point in this game. He took some Michigan fans did not take this lump well. He took the lump well. He made a good point. He said he didn't say this. I'm gonna say what he was trying to say. 1994 to 2007. So the baby years of our lives, before we were born to the baby years, when Grant was just a wee lad with a Braylon Edwards jersey on. But now I don't like that guy anymore. We'll get to that later. Michigan won 11 times. Michigan State won 3. Mike Hart drops the little brother line. 2008 to 2021, Michigan State 10, Michigan 4. Michigan's little brother now. And if they don't wake up and figure it out, then it's just going to – how are you going to get off the mat? If you look at that years and that split, as all you Michigan fans, when I was still a kid and didn't understand the rivalry, that made fun of Michigan State and thought, oh, you win that game. Now you have to figure out how to, like, fire yourself up to come back, and I honestly don't know if Jim's the guy to do it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, Jim should call some former players and tell them to just shut their mouth because they just keep feeding Michigan State players more and more every year, and they don't need to be doing that. They already have enough motivation.
I do not want to swear, and you just let me know. I had a whole block written down. I'll do it now. I don't want to swear because I don't want to bleep myself out. I don't want people to hear him like Grant's a little harsh, but like honestly, Braylon Edwards, his dad, Taylor Lewan, Ryan Armani from Woodward Sports are all absolute losers. Like, the idioticness of all these people talking about Michigan, it just sucks because, like, I grew up, I knew, like, the joke about Michigan fans being arrogant, but you just see it more and more, and they just show their true colors. And it sucks, honestly, guys, to be a part of that fan base because there's so many.
You, man. It's real.
There's so many idiots, and I'm not jumping ship. I'm just going to try. I mean, I don't have a big enough platform, but maybe one day I would love to change, like, the fan culture of how they, like, think about the team and, like, just come down to my level and get gritty with it and just realize that you're not that good, and then you just have to build back up. Because, like, think about this, how stupid this is. Like, Braylon and Taylor Lewan, they say they're these big Michigan men. Like, what you did this week leading up actively hurt the team that you wanted to win. Like, it doesn't help your team at all. It actively hurts. And if I was Cade or I was Hutchinson, I'd be those guys for what they said. It's like, these guys, this Michigan team has been buttoned up. They haven't said a word. One reporter baited Blake Corum about Mike Hart's comments earlier in the week. He said he brushed it off. Like, they didn't give anything. And you sure as no, after talking about Mel Tucker, he's not letting his team say anything stupid before the game. And it's like, it's one thing to do it after the game. Like, I understand the Mike Hart comments, like, turn the rivalry and all that. But, like, if you really think about it, you can live with that as a fan where like he was 4-0 against them.
He told the truth.
And Mark Antonio, like I was reading back into it, Mark Antonio made a comment about the App State game, like when he was asked about it. So like there was kind of this banter to go, and like yes, Mike Hart, I'm sure maybe he regrets. He probably does regret. He's like, yeah, turn the tide of the rivalry. If he would have known what would have happened since, he wouldn't have done it. At least he did it after when he was 4-0. You know, like he did. He felt like he owned the program, and he said it. He was a college kid in the moment. I can get over that. I can forgive that. He's moved on from that. But like Taylor Lewan going 1-4, and like you're playing for the Titans and you're hurt, and some reporter probably asked you about the game this week, and you felt like anyone in Nashville, Tennessee wanted to hear your stupid rant about the rivalry game, and then you tweet it out yourself, and it gets picked up. Like you look like such a clown and moron and like scumbag and just an absolute moron. And then it makes it worse. Like that's one thing. But then Braylon Edwards, who his job is in media now, and his job legitimately is working for a company to like know about both teams, and he makes a stupid comment that he can't name a player on Michigan State's
Joe
defense
Milton-esque.
who's like a top 10 in the country. It's like these people, and the worst is that they're former players, and the worst with Braylon is that he was one of the best receivers in history, and now he's just a joke. They're like, you're saying this stupid stuff that's actively hurting the team you want to win. And I feel bad for the current players that have to deal with this because they didn't provide any bulletin board material. They were good about that. And you have these dumb players doing that. Like I don't like Draymond, but I can live with what Draymond did after the game. They won. Like you can talk smack after you win. You can talk smack during the game. Like Xavier Henderson said, him and Eric all were going at it. That's fine. You're in the heat of the battle. All these people talking smack. I wrote this down because you guys will be able to understand this. It's like, imagine if we were on some like show, then they were previewing a Tecumseh versus Chelsea football game district final matchup. We wouldn't go on there before the game and say like, oh, Chelsea stinks. We're gonna like pound them. Like if you think about our high school in all sports, football, baseball, basketball, we pretty much kind of went back and forth with that team, and there was some respect there. Like we didn't like them, but we knew they were a good opponent. You don't go on there and say to their little brother, we're going to donkey them in their stadium. I would never say that if someone asked me, Tecumseh versus Chelsea football, Grant, when you're 30 years old. Like, how's it going to go? I'd be like, I don't know. It's probably going to be a good game if both teams are good. I understood a little bit of trash talk last year, like when you think you can beat a team. But like after last year learning that they were favored by 20 points and they still lost, how do you have the nerve to talk any pregame when you don't play for either team? Like, if Hutchinson or one of the receivers, I would hate it if they pregame. At leise they have a chance to influence the game. Like if you're going to run your mouth, you have a chance to back it up. And I like Rich Eisen too, but the fact that he spent 7 minutes a day talking about the officiating in the game made me want to throw up. And I like Rich Eisen. He's a smart guy, I think, for the most part. And he kind of did this little bit where he said very nice things about Michigan State. He goes, now do you want the spicy version? Like I don't know if these guys are just idiots and doing it for clicks or what. I don't even want to say this guy's name again. He's such a loser on Braylon's co-host, Ryan Armani. This pinhead was tweeting all game about like how the game was stolen from Michigan. There was all six reviews were bad calls. Like in what world were Jayden Reed's catches not catches, you dumb idiot? They were both catches. They were the right play. Like what are we talking about? And then he has the nerve to delete all of his tweets from the game. And then he said, I deleted all my tweets from the Michigan State game because there was so many toxic comments. Like when you say stupid stuff on the internet, people are going to tell you about it. Like, and I honestly, and also embarrassing to Braylon Edwards to have your dad call in the 97-1 and try to defend you. But like, if any of those guys have the nerve to somehow hear this, because they probably do, they probably search the webs for their name or those type of people. If you want to come on the show and talk about it, we can. And I can tell you that you're actively hurting the program that you say you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up pretty solidly.
So stupid, guys.
The Michigan arrogance is... I want to say it's not a real thing, but every year I see it and it just continues. So
even we can get nitty gritty,
stop.
And it's so almost poetic that we hired Jim Harbaugh. Not we, Michigan hired Jim Harbaugh. That like Mel's phrase is "keep chopping, relentless." You can't make this up. The people talk about the arrogance of Michigan. That Jim Harbaugh's phrase is "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." How that is like might possibly be the most arrogant phrase of all time. Like, say, I don't know, Alabama, Michigan State, Ohio State, Georgia, any team that has, like, won their conference championship has it better than us. Maybe, like, retire that phrase. Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty good.
That was one of my rant on that.
I just wonder every year, is it ever How many times do you have to lose big games? And how many times does your program have to not win the Big Ten, not make it to the Big Ten championship game? Over and over and over again, my whole life, basically. And yet still every year, there's just a sense of entitlement and the sense that you're just a superior program. I mean, I've seen so many comments and YouTube comments on our videos and how Michigan State is beneath Michigan. And that's not every Michigan fan. I would never think that that's all Michigan fans because Grant's a Michigan fan. And I don't think he's.
I'm trying to change the culture one man at a time.
But I mean, how many Michigan fans are just going to say every year, "Oh, Michigan State, they're the little sister program. They're beneath us. They'll never be on our level." What is it going to take to realize that it's not the case?
It's like we talk about those comments are so out of this world, like unbelievable that people would be that stupid as hell that it makes me like want to believe that they're like bots. Like
blows my mind.
Like I want to think that they're actually Michigan State fans making fake accounts to drive the narrative that Michigan's arrogant, which I actually respect. It's a very sneaky rivalry move. But like that's how insane some of these takes are by people. But they're not. They're real breathing people. Taylor Lewan saying, "I'm not going to say it, but Michigan State." It's like you look.
The guy's a loser. And Evan, as a Titans fan, please give your take on that.
As a Titans fan, we don't associate with him. He's an overrated, overpaid offensive lineman.
I just can't believe it. It hurts the team. They're like, I wrote attention-seeking, ignorant, arrogant, actively hurting the team. Were like the quotes that like. It's like they want attention. Like they want to be
squids.
It's so dumb.
Just losers.
And it makes me feel even more bad for the current players. They didn't ask for that. You think they wanted that? No. They don't want you guys running your hot air mouths. And then like that video is for sure that's in every single Michigan State player's locker room.
Watch.
Like you saw Xavier Henderson
was pissed about it. And he thanked him.
That kid gets it. He did it post game. He like waited till they won the game. He wouldn't have said probably anything if it had gone differently. It's just like stupid, dude. It's like, why do you do that?
Coughlin quoted Lewan on the field after the game.
It's like,
as soon as the game ended and he's celebrating on the field, he remembers what Lewan said. He quoted exactly what Lewan said.
Keep doing it. It fuels Michigan State.
I'm just going to try to beg Michigan fans. This won't hear enough people, but like, stop. Just stop doing it. Just swallow the pill and just shut up for like, maybe just shut up for a whole season and focus on basketball. It doesn't make sense because like Michigan basketball Twitter is like so nice. They're like, I don't know. They're not like.
Unless Illinois is.
They're not as like ignorant. Maybe just because they
can't be.
I don't know.
It's not. I don't know. I don't know where this ignorance comes from Michigan football because in my life they've never been.
I don't get it. Maybe my generation will change it, but like when I was a kid, they lost every Rose Bowl they played in, and they haven't won a Big Ten title. So I don't know how you like think that you're contending for anything.
How many games do you have to lose, and how many games do you have to get pummeled against Ohio State to just humble yourself?
It's good. That's why that's when you said Matt Campbell. I would take Matt Campbell because Matt Campbell would flip this culture on his head, and he would turn this into like an Iowa State mentality where like we're the hunters, not the hunted. But I think there's still the hunted mentality at Michigan right now.
Like I said, I'm Jim. I'm calling all these former players and just being like, hey, that would be it, and I hang up the phone. You just can't keep doing it. Yeah. But keep doing it because I'm good with it.
Guys, a question. Simple one, but are both teams good? Do we know yet? I know we talked about we're not sure, and then we just saw them play, and they play each other really tight. I know I'm comfortable saying both teams aren't bad.
I think they're both upper echelon teams. That's coach speak.
I guess I was thinking about how I view teams in tiers of college football. Like good means that like you're gonna pretty much be in every game, and you're not gonna lose games. You're not going to lose like Nebraska's. That's how I knew both of these teams were good. They both beat Nebraska in like tight games. Like, okay, you have some character to you. I don't know if both teams are – I wouldn't put them in the great category. I think there's good, then great, then elite in like the good tier of college football. I think the only elite team this year so far is Georgia. I think they're in an elite category. I think everyone else is good. I would say both of our teams are good.
I think they're both good.
But not great.
I'm not ready to declare them, national champion. Neither are on the level of Georgia, which we could go into fan question from Jason.
Yeah, let's just hammer that.
Michigan State plays Georgia, Evan, on Saturday, and then Michigan plays Georgia on Saturday. What's the score of those games?
A lot to a little in favor of Georgia.
Yeah.
Didn't they win this week?
Animals?
They won 34-7 this week to Florida.
7 points.
Maybe 30.
Their defense is
10.
a step above everybody.
It's an NFL defense.
yes, you'll look back at like the former Alabama teams where you look back at like their starting lineup and they're all like NFL starters. You're going to look back at this Georgia defense and they're going to be like all NFL starters.
Yeah.
Do they have a chance to keep it close? I think both teams could.
A lot would have to go their way for that to happen, I think.
Correct. If you were down in Athens, Georgia right now, I don't think it would be a little shell shock for both teams. They could keep it close for a while, but I don't see them winning that football game.
I think it'd be like 10-7 for a while, and then it'd turn into like 34-10 or something.
I'd go 31-13 probably. I just don't see how either team could score.
And it'd feel like farther away than that final score. Like it'd be like, oh, that just.
I think these teams are good, but if we're comparing them to the national like championship level of a Georgia, neither team is in that discussion.
No, I agree. I guess I kind of misspoke. But like, there's an elite tier, and it's only Georgia right now. And then there's a great team, and then there's a good team. And I think both these teams are in the good team. And I think there's maybe a sprinkle of teams that are in the great tier. Like, I don't really know.
Who would you put in the great?
I would put Alabama as a great team. I think they will. I think I'm betting on. I'm obviously like predicting these.
One game, dude.
Tennessee, they struggled.
I'm predicting these teams will be like end up being great. That's really. I mean, I don't know. I think Ohio State's higher in the good tier. I don't think Ohio State's great. I'll tell you that. I think if Alabama and Ohio State played, Alabama would win by like at least 10. By 10. But like this is how I'm gonna like how I said with a phrase it. Michigan fan Grant is not gonna predict Michigan to win. But if unbiased national reporter Grant would say, like, I would still stick to my point. This Ohio State team's a little bit more vulnerable than they have in the past with Justin Fields. So I think for Michigan and Michigan State, if you were going to pick off Ohio State in the conference and win it, it would be this kind of year with what I saw from these two teams on Saturday. I think I wrote down, I guess, do you feel better or worse or the same about either of these teams being OSU? I think from watching both these teams, they showed me like dimensions of their team that I feel better about it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but I feel better about the odds of them beating Ohio State. How do you guys feel about it?
I feel better just knowing that. I mean, I don't really feel better. I think I feel the same, but at least I saw in a big game Michigan State's ability to, for one, we saw them come back from a big deficit. So they showed some grit. It was at home. They had the fans powering them. I don't know. I don't feel better. I don't feel worse. It's probably just the same for me. Maybe a little better just because they showed grittiness.
I would think Kenneth Walker's performance would make me, as a State fan, feel better about.
I know he's the dude. I just know that Ohio State's going to try to just completely take that away. And Jalen Naylor, who knows if he's going to be in that game. And that kind of makes me not go to the better side. For Michigan, I would say I feel better that they can beat Ohio State. I don't think they will. But I would say I feel a little better after I saw their passing game a little more. But I don't feel good about either winning at this moment. Good chance.
No, I don't think either team has a chance against Ohio State.
Oh, I'd say they have a chance. I wouldn't go that far.
No, I don't think they do. I don't think you understand how good Ohio State's offense really is. I mean, they're top 5 in almost every single FBS category.
I think they're a good team for sure.
So you feel about the same, Evan, because you were there before this.
Yeah,
game.
I feel the same. Correct. I still don't think either team has a chance against Ohio State. Maybe Michigan probably a little bit more just because it's a home field advantage, and it's at noon. But if you're looking at the Michigan State game, I mean, all signs point to either it's going to be at noon on Fox or it's going to be 7:30 prime time.
Yeah. I guess based on that, because obviously there's still flaws that we saw in these teams, what is the biggest thing you think, give your Michigan and Michigan side, the biggest thing each team needs to work on going forward?
I don't want to be the obvious one, but I think third down efficiency for Michigan State and defending that the crossing route by either receiver or just like the middle of the field zone. Either you're in man or you're in a soft zone. That middle of the field was a little soft, and like too many times McNamara found that guy over the middle for an easy completion. So third down efficiency. I know Michigan's wasn't great. It was a little below 50%, but it's still too high. Too many third down and longs where all the momentum's on your side and then they convert. So passing, defense, obviously, because you gave up 406 to McNamara.
Evan, I'll hop in real quick there. I was gonna try to think of a new one because that was one of mine, but I think that's so the obvious clearing thing. If I was a Michigan State fan, like what needs to be worked on going forward was those middle of the field routes, which they kind of did start to take away towards the end of the game. Like
Fourth
they
quarter
were making adjustments, but you know that like whatever Gaddis and Harbaugh's playbook consists of crossing routes, like Ryan Day has 1,000 times more, and there have better athletes coming across the middle. So I think that would be the biggest thing to try to clean up because Ohio State's just going to abuse the middle of the field against any team they play. So I think that is the biggest thing there. What were you going to get to with Michigan there?
I mean, it's hard to tell, but like front seven still. I mean, the pass rush. I would say pass rush is still solid.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, the craziest thing is like I was thinking about their defense, but like watching back, it's like I don't know if they just didn't. It's like Kenneth Walker. It's simply just that. Like they run like Michigan State. Now this is a sweaty thing, Evan, that we can briefly get into that I know will perk you up. But like I was rewatching the game and hearing other people talk and thinking about again why I think I'm ready to move on from Jim Harbaugh is I'll say I think the whole like power gap running in college football is dead for now. I don't know if there'll be a revival one year, but like you look at Wisconsin, you look at Michigan, two like Big Ten power gap running scheme teams. Teams do both. Like Michigan State, will just see guys pull guards and run gap plays sometimes, but Michigan is a primarily gap running team, as opposed to Michigan State with a guy like Kenneth Walker is a zone blocking type thing. Like for the nerds out there, it's essentially like. With Michigan's offense, they have the classic, like, okay, we're running 22 blank. So, like, this is going to the 2 hole. Like, there's not really an option for the running back to cut. Whereas a lot of times you'll watch Michigan State, and they'll all just take a step to their left and have a kind of, like, they'll have Connor Hayward come the other way to seal a guy. And then it's like, Kenneth, you have 3 holes you can pick from. And, like, do what you need to do. Like, and I think what Ohio State does a lot of that. Like, what Michigan State and Ohio State are doing is, like, modern football and what's having a coming of age right now. And Jim is still stuck running his power gap scheme from the NFL. And it's like asking offensive linemen to do that much pulling. Like if you go back, again, watch the game, it's like there's so many times when Michigan will run that gap pulling play. And like it's just so slow developing. And these defensive linemen, like credit to, I would say the unsung heroes of the game, obviously were the trenches, were Slade and Barrow. Just like blowing up the center and the guard on those things, and then that allowed Crouch and Halliday to just fly down and make plays. It's like, and obviously, I think the case is clearly settled that Corum and Haskins are good backs, but they're not Kenneth Walker. But I still think if you ran more zone blocking, like you give a guy, shifty guy like Corum to make a decision on what hole he wants to hit, it'd work out better for you than forcing that kid through like a specific gap every play. So. What I would like to see for Michigan going forward is to incorporate more of that. I know they're not going to, but that's just kind of a bigger picture of why I'm ready for Harbaugh to leave, because I know that power gap running scheme is not Gaddis's idea. That's solely like that's Harbaugh. He's like, this is our identity. This is what we're gonna do. You work your offensive plays around that. I feel very comfortable saying that because Alabama, Nick Saban has talked about how he has left that AJ McCarron days. They don't do that anymore. They spread you out. They're modern. They figured out how to use Najee Harris. Like it's different. Jim has not adapted to that, so that's one thing. I mean, because what I was getting to is like the defense. I don't like what do you work on? Like you had good pressure, you like were getting to places, and then kind of just cuts back and runs 20 yards the other way, and then you're out of position. Like, how do you fix that? You just hope that the next running back you face doesn't do that. But yeah, offensively, I guess this is like they have to figure out how to run better against tougher teams because we talked about putting them in a phone booth. And I think on the way to Ford Field, I tried to say they ran the ball decently well. They did not run the ball that well. Like it was like okay, but it was not good enough. Like, and I also think if you're not running the ball, lean into the passing game more. Like honestly, we're watching back the tape. I would have been fine with K through 55 times because like those plays were working much better than the A gap runs. Alex,
for Michigan State, covering the middle of the field for Michigan. I don't know. Like you guys said, it's kind of hard to pick out one thing for Michigan. They're overall pretty sound football team. They don't do anything like terrible. They don't do anything great. But if it were me to pick something different, I don't know, coverage, corners,
I would pick red zone efficiency or like down like
touchdowns.
give advantage to score and
Don't kick field goals. Score touchdowns.
correct. I mean that's the big outlier because I mean your field goal is 4 for 4, where we didn't even attempt a field goal.
They were 2 for 6.
Okay, I have one. Either don't bring JJ in mid drives. If you're going to bring JJ in, let him take the whole drive. That's what I'll say.
How about stop bringing him in?
Yeah, you're either in the
that's what I would do.
I would not bring him in, but if I was going to, I would let him take the whole drive. If you want to give the defense a different look, I would not do this whole like every other play in the middle of drives things.
Yeah.
Evan, did you feel like, because I like your X's and O's analysis, did you feel like that, like I was watching back the game and I was like, this power gap running thing is not going to work against the big teams in the Big Ten.
Correct. And I don't know if like because you rewatch it and they run like the play that you're thinking of, they run it a lot.
They just pull all the time.
Still thought that they had the look no matter what.
They really did not run.
Me personally, because we only have 2 linebackers, it's probably numbers wise, it's probably like, oh, we should be able to run it, but like Jimmy and Joe's wise, it wasn't executed, so you got to move on from it.
You guys had like 7 to 8 ish. I mean, you can define how tight the box is, but like there was 7 to 8 guys in the box a lot of the time, and they would just like run into it. And I was like, again, what are you guys doing? I think when the end of D'Antonio was like when your guys' offense was in the dark days, were they doing like a power run scheme, or did they at least graduate to like the zone blocking?
I would say we were probably 60-40, 70-30, but more man, still the man old style blocking because we didn't bring in a new staff.
We also did nothing well. So it's just, I mean, it didn't.
D'Antonio's 2017, we were a tad bit more zone because of Rorke's running ability.
Yeah, I would agree.
I have 2 photos to show you guys just to illuminate my point. It's not great podcasting, but I just want you to see it. I took them today while I was rewatching it. This was in the first quarter I talked about where they still have the field goal. Look at the 3rd and 3 call. The run they dialed up there was an A-gap run. When you look at the box and how things are spread out to the left.
Did it work?
No. It was stuffed, and then that was when it was 4th and 2, and they kicked the field goal instead of going for it on like the 20 for 2 yards. And it was 10. It was 10-7.
It's bad design.
So this, Evan, I don't know if
because there's one drive you get down there,
dude,
you guys run 3 run plays right up.
Look at the trips. Look at there's 3-on-3, and then there's a 4th H back. If you just swing anyone out and if you run a bubble to the inside slot, and then you have H go block that guy, you're gonna probably get 3 yards. And yet they ran right into that 7-man box A gap, and it got stuffed. And then this one makes you want to puke even more. This was a 3rd and 1, and instead of running an outside zone to the left, they ran an A gap.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough.
This was 23-14, Evan.
That's tough.
What is that? 4th and 1. Look at to the.
Oh, this is the play that Kale Holiday just beats Henning across the face.
Because
almost like look. It looked like Henning didn't want anything to do with like blocking, but yes, I know that exact play.
And also sneaky on that play, they were running in like the trips late, and so Henning wasn't barely even set and didn't know who to block, and they just ran that play instead of running. And I mean, I don't know if it's on the quarterback to just say, "Hey, let's run an outside zone," because look at the other side of the field. There's nobody over there. It's just maddening that they still do that. And that's my rant on that, but. I guess we touched on the biggest things going forward. Briefly, because this show talks about how we love consuming all the media after the game. Was there a favorite video image that you guys saw from the post game that really tickled your fancy?
Just the 5-minute recap of the day that Michigan State football tweeted.
Yeah.
And then also Spartan All Access dropped like a 9.5-minute video of the game. I love watching those. Those are like what I wait for.
I have one that I think Evan should say, but I don't.
There's a lot of great pictures. Mark D'Antonio watching the celebration.
No, he looks like a creepy old uncle.
Thought that was awesome. It's like the passing of the torch.
Evan, there's one clip I feel like you have to say.
No, it's not the Paul Bunyan Trophy talking. Can't be that.
No, that's weird. That was the weirdest clip of the day. This is Sparta!
Yeah, that's freaky. That was freaky. Oh, it's Welcome to New York or like
Hello New York.
Hello New
whatever.
York. It's got to be that for you.
Oh, I mean, the first time I heard that, I mean, goosebumps. So I think Gus Johnson and Joel Clay did a fantastic job both ways.
Yeah, so Michigan
there
State
were some
fans can
football
apologize
teams.
because there were some that hated Gus Johnson going
Don't
into
look
this
at
game.
us.
No, I know it's not you guys.
I don't hate Gus.
Yeah, but I mean, chills. Gus Johnson, I think, is just for like the best player or the best moments, and I think his call on that play should give Michigan State fans goosebumps.
My
It
two,
did.
if I was by unbiased national reporter, would just be like the still shot of Brantley's one hand on the pick before he makes the play to bring it in. That was like a Charles Woodson-esque kind of picture where it was like a sweet pick in the big game. And then as a Michigan fan, as Grant Michigan fan, if they had won, my favorite picture would have been like the Andre Anthony Moss picture in the end zone. Jaden Reed's picture of the Moss was also pretty hard.
Yeah,
that was good. And also, yeah, you talked to me about that. I watched that back. So they lined up normal, and then they just audible to
everyone to the left.
4 to the left.
except
They ran 4 in a what's that called? A rhombus, a diamond, 4 diamond on the left,
Diamond.
and they just again that goes to Mel Tucker's nuts and how he's like, if we're gonna lose,
Huge
we're going to
thumbs.
lose going to our best players. And also, this is so. I mean, it's just so unfair that like Thorne and Reed played high school together. I'm so like it just you can tell the connections there. They know each other's body language like to a T, and it sucks.
Did you know Clayton Kershaw and Stafford went to the same high school?
They were friends. If they played football together, I'm sure it would have been the same.
They played baseball together.
Is that I hate to say, is that everything for the game?
I think
Oh,
it is.
one brief funny thing from Grant is how we talked about coping. How did I cope after this game? I found out I did something new, something I've never done before. I just grabbed. We went back to where our church tailgate was for a little bit, and I was just hammering Jaeger and Fireball like mixed with orange juice because I just took the remnants of what was left. So I took the gallon of orange juice, Fireball, and Jaeger, and we're just yugging it. And honestly, orange juice might be the best mixer on the planet.
Love orange juice.
After coming through with that, it masked the taste of those whiskeys so easily. It was unbelievable. So I got pretty buzzed there. That's why I was like hungover at 7 p.m. And then this was kind of Alex last night. So Sunday night, we got back from the Lions game, and we're just gonna go down rabbit holes. We all set up like the media, like we're really gonna soak it in because we wasted our time at the Lions game. I legitimately was so down bad. I know down bad is actually supposed to be if you're depressingly horny, but people use it if it's like you're sad like about something. So I'll use it in this case. I was down bad that I was like doing X's and O's research of like how to become a coach because I thought, Grant, like the only way to change your fate as a fan is if you become a coach of a team you like and like have control over the games. And I was like, I think that's what I need. I just need to go coach a high school one day and be like, I only care about if we win. I don't care about Michigan. I don't care about the Lions. I just care about the team that I win. And if I lose, at least I can look myself in the mirror and be like, I caused it. Like I'm not a fan where I have no control over the game. That's what I did. I legitimately convinced myself I was going to be a coach.
That's pretty dark.
It was dark times in the Birmingham apartment. It was bad.
Now everyone knows where we live.
The city, okay. Alabama, duh. Roll Tide.
Michigan, Indiana,
I wasn't ready for preview.
7:30 p.m. on Fox. Michigan is favored by 20 smackaroos. Indiana's on QB like 36. Grant, keys and prediction.
The only thing I think that's going to be different, like I do think we watched Michigan State play this team, and they checked Kenneth Walker pretty well because we talked about how good their linebackers are. And as I alluded to, with the X's and O's of the power run scheme, I think when you watch these slow developing run plays for Michigan, they're going to get blown up a lot. So I think Michigan is going to struggle running the football again in this game, and I think they're going to rely on Cade again to throw. I think really the only difference in this game that's going to let Michigan win the game is one, it's at night, and it's going to be hopefully a good atmosphere, and then two, like obviously Indiana's defense is much worse than Michigan State's, or Indiana's offense is much worse than Michigan State's. That's what I meant to say. I think they're on their third string quarterback. I don't know if Tuttle will be back. I don't know if Penix will be back. They're all kind of vanilla, whatever. Who cares what happens? I just know their offenses will not be as good. So I think Michigan will win.
Must-win meter?
It's a must-win. It's almost a fire someone upon a loss where it's just like, yeah, you know what?
It is.
Yes, that dumb coach that keeps getting screenshot with the stupid eyebrows in the turnover photo, Ryan Osborne, he can be fired. That guy's a little loser. So fire him upon a loss. No, that guy's an actual loser.
And prediction.
Michigan 31, Indiana 13. I will say, as a Michigan fan, like what I'm really hoping for here is that like they show up pissed off. Like, I'll know if this team has anything left in the tank for this year that's worth rooting for if they show up pissed off, which, based on everything I heard post-game, I think they are. Like, the look on them, the way they talked, like, they're like, we know everything's still in front of us. Like, obviously, they don't control their own destiny now, but, like, their goals they set, they can still get as close as they can to reaching them by just winning out. So, if they look dead, I'm going to be really mad. But if they look like they're ready to go, then I'd be, okay, I'll give you guys another chance.
Evan, must win in the score prediction.
Must win. I would say it's just a must win for Michigan. They still only have one loss on the year. Indiana stinks. Tom Allen stinks. He's a really bad coach. 5-10.
Which, Evan, you know, now that you talk about it, if Michigan loses this game, they should fire somebody. It'd be embarrassing.
I mean, it would be embarrassing, but, you know, I don't think they would do it. But it's a must win. You can lead me that way.
I think you should fire someone.
No, Evan, go with what you think.
Dude, how embarrassing.
I'm all into firing somebody. Well, at least Indiana won't run on tempo, so you don't have to worry about making subs. You know, 45-10. I don't think it will be close. I really don't.
I hope it's that.
Alex, so I think Michigan will come out pissed off, and this is a fire Jim Harbaugh upon loss. And I think Michigan wins handily, 38-6. Indiana doesn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, I feel like people need to start understanding that fire someone upon loss is almost a compliment because there's no way you should lose the game. Like, that's how confident I feel like they just need to win the game. They're like, if you lose the game, things need to happen. Now for the game that I'm going to be dialed into. I'm actually very excited to watch this 3:30 p.m. on ABC game.
Sean McDonough.
Michigan State
potential.
-2.5 at Purdue.
Give me a second. I'll give you who it is.
The word on the street is Evan Kemmons will be in attendance for this game.
Is that
not
finalized?
just the word on the street? This is a given fact. I will be in attendance.
Finalized detail, but you don't get Sean McDonough then.
I think Mel Tucker said he wants fans to travel to West Lafayette, and you are answering the bell. You do not want to get beat up by Mel Tucker, so you're driving your butt to West Lafayette.
Yes. He singled me out and said, "You have to go, son." And I said, "Yes, sir."
Here's the thing. What did Purdue
Pick
do
Purdue,
recently?
Grant.
They beat Nebraska last week, right?
Yeah, they were. Adrian Martinez threw 4 picks, and he threw one of the worst interceptions I have ever seen.
I haven't watched them play since the Iowa game, so obviously I have like these grand thoughts of Purdue in my head. I believe there's a clip of Mel Tucker railing off all the upsets they've had over big teams. There was that stat we even talked about how like
they have the most wins over top 2 teams.
So
ever.
And as Alex theorized in our group chat, if Michigan State opens up as 2 in the college football playoff rankings, take Purdue money line. You better pray that Michigan State is not number 2 because that's just mojo.
They're gonna be.
Dude, I don't know. This is a classic college football game where it's like the letdown spot.
Let me just tell you, today Mel in his presser said he doesn't even know what a trap game is.
I know.
Because that guy is a bad mother effer. And that's why I'm not as worried as I should be.
No, and right. And Mel Tucker will say that because Mel Tucker is just kind of going to celebrate for one night. But you can't tell me that like guys on the team that are 18 to 19 to 20 years old aren't checking their social media, looking at all the cool photos of them in the Michigan game. Like, this is going to last. I don't think a lot of Michigan State players will, and rightfully so, will move on from that game until like Wednesday. I wouldn't if I was a player. I would walk into Purdue like, if we just beat Michigan, we're gonna handle Purdue because we're sick and we have Kenneth Walker on our team. If I had Kenneth Walker on my team, I don't think I'd prep at all. Like, this guy's just gonna figure it out. So I do think it's gonna be tight. I think the line reflects that. It's a must win for Michigan State. Let's get that clear. You have to win this game because now the expectations have changed and you need showdowns between Penn State and Ohio State. I think Michigan State wins a Matt Coughlin squeaker, 29-26. Because he didn't get used last game. He's got to get used this game.
Must win meter, keys, and a prediction.
Must win meter is obviously a must win. Prediction. Prediction: Michigan State 35, Purdue 28. Keys to the game.
Yeah, like I don't know anything about Purdue really, other than David Bell.
Their defense is pretty decent. They got some players. Their offense struggles mightily. They can't run the football, and they got one receiver that kind of makes the difference for them, I guess. But they've changed quarterbacks multiple times this year. They're okay. They're a decent Big Ten team.
Kind of like Michigan has kind of rotated between quarterbacks.
Michigan is significantly better than that.
Thanks.
Keys to the game: come out fast and heavy.
The Gophers beat them.
In all white uniforms.
I don't think so.
No.
Green Gruff helmet prediction.
I'm going green, white.
You guys in the uniforms.
And then the keys to the game: start fast, stay balanced offensively, 50-50. Don't get happy with what just happened. Kenneth Walker will get his yards, but don't overdo it. And then defensively, keep bend. You must bend this game because they will throw the ball 55 times.
Purdue will?
I'm predicting it.
Everyone's going to do that.
Are they just going to do like the Indiana blueprint where they try to quick game you guys to death?
Yeah.
And then settle for field goals? And
I do feel confident in Ronald Williams on David Bell. I hope he shadows him.
I was thinking that.
I hope it's not like, oh, he's the field corner. I like man up and like shadow him everywhere you go. Now I don't care about running man the entire time. Obviously, they would kill Ronald Williams, but like he should be on the same field as David Bell every single time, and then bluff your coverages. And we'll see if we can actually get pressure this week. A little bit more pressure.
I think it's a must-win. Everyone seems nervous about this game. Oh, this could be a harder game than the Michigan game. Oh, I've seen it all.
Might be harder. It's just
I've seen it. I've seen it all over. That this is a tougher opponent and all these.
That's
stupid Michigan State fans.
That is outrageous.
Agreed.
That's like as bad as Michigan fans like saying the officiating cost them the game.
Agreed. With that being said, I'm not. I mean, yeah, I get it. Purdue beats a bunch of top teams, whatever. I think Michigan State is more talented. I don't think that they're going to have the letdown spot. I think this team is now, if anything, more focused with the fact that they have a chance to be 10-0 after this game, and then Maryland, and then playing Ohio State for probably the Big Ten East. So I think they're more focused than ever, and I think they win 28-17. I'm not afraid of Purdue's offense. I think their defense is pretty solid, but not solid enough to stop Kenneth Walker. I don't think anyone can really stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
And then when you do contain him, he cuts back.
Ugh, why didn't you say that stuff?
I mean, I haven't had a prediction wrong this whole season.
Do not hurt me. Sorry.
So I don't think what
Michigan State to win every game.
I don't think what I say is going to really affect Michigan State. There's no such thing as jinxes. We don't believe in that. And that's just what I think.
I hate to go back in time, but I do think for the loopy Michigan fans, there's like Grant's takes on the officiating of the game. Did some parts of it suck? Yeah, but like that didn't cost you the game. And if you're out here saying that Michigan, I saw you said that article on fan side. If you think that Michigan lost a game because of refs, you should leave the fan base and go root for like Tennessee or something. Like I'd rather you never talk about Michigan football again, because I'll say this on the that strip sack of Peyton Thorne, I think should have stood and it should have been a touchdown. But again, like I don't think that changed the entire game. Like, they still got a field goal, so you're talking about 4 points, so maybe you're talking about overtime, but that's not how college football works. Things don't work like that. So, yeah, that should have. And then I would equate, like, the 6 reviews. People are like, oh, 6 reviews, never want Michigan to win. Yeah, but, like, they made 2 of them were, like, clear catches. I forget all of them, but, like, they weren't – though the Kenneth Walker touchdown, that was a touchdown. It's like The only thing I would equate the 6 reviews was, Alex, you'll love this, is sometimes after we record the show, more often than not, about 75%. I don't think so tonight because I'm a little buzzed. Alex and I will go to Taco Bell, and we'll go try to get some food, and we'll go to the Taco Bell. And imagine this. You pull up to the Taco Bell, and it's closed. You're like, oh, no, we got to go to another Taco Bell. Well, imagine if you do that 6 times in a row. That's what it felt like with the reviews.
That
like
is a wild.
It's not the end of the.
comparison.
It's not the end of the world. It does suck when it happens, but it's not why like you're ultimately depressed because you're trying to go to Taco Bell at 10:30. It's your own fault. It's not like the review's fault. You're just like, oh well, here we go again. It's closed. Like it's not why you lost. It just sucked. That's all my thoughts on the officiating of the game. So previews of the games. Does it almost?
The more I look at this, I really don't think like Purdue's that good of a team.
That's what I just told you. Adam.
Oh no, I mean not
I
your
just
team.
said it. They lost to your team.
What'd you see? What'd you see that made you think that way?
They beat
Their efficiency on offense isn't that good. Thorne has better stats than their starting QB, and they throw the ball more. They can't run the ball. They give up more rushing yards per game than Michigan State does.
I said all of this.
They've just improved better defensively than what they were like the past couple of years. So like a lot of their games are just closer.
They scored
Even though they
13
lost a lot
points
of
against
close games
Minnesota.
last year.
They haven't scored over 29. They haven't scored over 24 points in their last 4 games.
They have like.
That's
I
not
guess
enough.
the only thing that worries you is on offense, like if David Bell just has like a David Bell game, like they do have a game breaker, like that can just mess you up on a post route or something, or like when Rondale Moore had a big game against Ohio State, like he's solid, like he could just have a game. But like it's like, yeah, is their defense going to hold up enough to make that be a difference? Probably not. So,
I mean, Wisconsin boat raced them.
but also you have to factor in that Michigan State could look like zombies coming out because they are going to be a little hungover.
And now it's on the road. It's not a night game, but it's going to turn into a night game in the second half or late in the second. And there's something about it because people say you don't win, you don't walk into Hawkeye Stadium, or Kinnick Stadium.
Connect, yeah.
You don't walk into Kinnick Stadium and win. And it's like the same.
Ross Aid Stadium.
Yeah, it's like the same feeling with like you go into Purdue and the same stuff could happen.
Yeah, Michigan.
I mean, as for Ohio State, Michigan State, their 2015 year escaped there barely.
Yeah.
I mean, Evan, they beat Illinois 13-9. They lost
Correct.
at home to
I understand that,
Minnesota.
Alex.
But Illinois beat Penn State, who almost beat Ohio State. So, bam.
They lost at home to Wisconsin by over 2 touchdowns.
Well, I will be in attendance screaming my head off. Maybe that will affect the outcome of the game.
Honestly,
And Adrian Martinez blew it for them. If you guys should really, I promise, go back, just watch the highlights of that game. Adrian Martinez rolls to his left and tries to throw a shuffle pass like 7 yards. It's like the easiest
that's Adrian
interception.
Martinez, though.
They blew that game.
This is what I would say, and honestly, like I hate it. I don't hate to say it because, like, unbiased Grant, Kenneth Walker is like one of the sweetest dudes ever. I was listening to his post-game press conference. He just seemed so humble.
Awesome guy.
He was like giggling. He was like, one of those reporters was like, "Tell us how excited you are." I was like, "I'm kind of shy. Like, I'll just let the play do for its talking." Like, just the most wholesome, humble guy. I don't think Kenneth Walker overlooks games like this. And I think going back to Evans Key is starting fast, like you almost need Kenneth Walker to be in his bag, like in the Northwestern game, and kind of because Northwestern and Ross Aid Stadium are very similar to me, where they're like these gross Big Ten stadiums where like you don't get up to play. If Kenneth Walker comes to play and starts punishing people early, I think Michigan State will roll because it'll open up the passing game. I think because we talked about it earlier in the show about it, I think it'll be interesting to see how the I'm guessing lack of Jalen Naylor will happen. I don't know. We don't know yet. College football, they don't have to tell you.
Sounds like a broken finger.
I'm guessing he won't be in the game. So it'll be interesting to see how the passing game looks without him. Who steps up? Do you just see more Trey Mosley? Do you see more Tyler Hunt? Who knows? But I think if Kenneth Walker, I don't think that's a kid that like has let down spots. He's just a beast. I still don't know how like Wake Forest was just like didn't try to keep him. I don't. But they're undefeated. I don't know.
Scheme.
But scheme. Like what do you mean about scheme? Like,
They don't. Kenneth wanted to leave because they didn't run a pro style offense, and he thought he would fit better in a pro style offense, aka Michigan State, and it seems to work out.
But if Kenneth is on his game early in the game, it won't be that much of a problem for Michigan State. I just think it'll be a slow start. The life will get sucked out of you, but I think Michigan State will still win, like I said. Very last thing before we really close this puppy out was the boys went to Ford Field. I think we all agree that the 0-17 jokes are like kind of becoming real. We talked about, I said this was a must win for the Lions, but actually now that you think about it, the like path of the Lions season is super clear. If they're playing a good team, like a perceived as good team, they show up and that team that they're playing probably like takes them lightly because like, oh, it's the Lions. They play them tough, and then they get these kind of crap teams like Chicago and Philly, the teams that are fighting for something, they look bad. So it's like every other week there's like good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. This was gross. This was disgusting. Now that I have my full eyes on this team in person, I'm more mad at the coaching staff for the decisions they made. Like, just, again, I kept reiterating with you guys that Amon-Ra St. Brown makes good plays, and then they just take him off the field and put in Kabinda and Tommy Kennedy. It's like, I understand that we are tanking, but, like, why is – Amon-Ra should be playing 85% of snaps to 90%, like any good wide receiver in the NFL does. And I'm just going to – like, and even they took out Hockenson sometimes. I'm going to harpoon on that. The defense is – I don't know. They limited Jalen Hurts passing, but they just look so terrible every other way. And I'll say this with Evan. Evan and I booed hard, and it felt good. And I kind of felt guilty in the moment, but I don't feel bad about it. What did you guys? I don't know. Anything else you guys felt from that? Just
It's the worst football game I've ever been to.
following the best game you've probably been to.
It was. Yeah, I mean it was terrible. It was one of the worst games ever. The Lions are horrible, and I'm comfortable sitting here telling you guys that the Lions are going 0-17.
Comfortable.
Tell me otherwise.
Tank for Thibodeau.
I will buy a Thibodeau jersey.
Yeah, because you have to burn the current one that you had.
Maybe I'll try to resell it for peanuts.
I can't wait till it's the off season and we just one episode. It's kind of down in sports, and we just go back in our VODs and we just do terrible take podcast show. And most of them's gonna be you trying to back Jared Goff.
Hey, Grant was backing him too. You can't just put that all on me.
Most of it was you backing Jared Goff and the laughable.
Hey, we can recycle your bad takes too, if you want.
Go ahead, try to find them.
I got one. Kenneth Walker's going to be a third down back.
Yeah, let's recycle that.
Well, okay, good.
Both of you guys.
Third down back. He's out there often.
Grant, you're not off the hook either.
Anthony Russo would be starter away. He's too busy getting DWIs.
Well, Mel Tucker did say he's our backup QB this week, so that's a positive.
He's back. Yeah.
What are my bad takes?
You've got plenty.
What bad takes?
Plenty. You said Michigan State football wouldn't finish in the top 4 in the Big Ten East.
That was a side comment. I didn't say it in the pod.
Eat it.
Jared Goff is not the answer, and
Jared Goff. You want me to say that?
I mean, I looked at Evan in the game. I said out loud, I kind of feel bad for Jared, and Evan goes, I don't like it. And he's right. We shouldn't. He's making millions of dollars.
He throws the ball away on fourth down.
He's got a very pretty girlfriend, fiance, whatever. Like, I shouldn't feel
pretty. More than pretty.
Okay.
I stood up and screamed at Jared Goff in words that I cannot repeat on this podcast of how irate I was when he threw the ball away on fourth down.
That's not the first time he's done that this year.
No, the funniest part about that play, guys, all Lions fans know when he threw it away, is that Evan said it'd be so funny if he threw it away here. Like, you spoke it into existence. And he came out later and said the ball slipped out of his hands, his baby hands. I think he threw it away. I would say this, Evan, sucks. I wish you were there for the beginning of it, but like when the We Want Blau chants erupted in Ford Field, it was
you could hear him on TV.
It was surreal
because we were by the cameras. So apparently, you could hear him on TV.
We Want Blau. I Twitter searched it too. Like, can people hear us on TV?
The guy that's behind us that put the box on his head and carved out the frowny face. He has a picture of the article in Detroit. I'm pretty sure it's Detroit Free Press or M Live. The guy right behind us, he's like the front page of
the thing.
Article.
He caught the T-shirt.
You could see Cody's hat, the Michigan State hat, right next to it. We're blocked out because of people standing up in front of us, but that guy's all over it.
And then the last thing too, I remember like toward the end of the game because we stayed because we were bored and it was almost comical. It was actually kind of fun because of how bad it was. But there was this lady behind us. I want to talk to you guys, but she was right behind us. She's like, oh my God, throw it, get rid of it. And I was just like, oh my God, like, why do you care this much? Just late in the game is Jared Goff. He's not getting rid of the ball. He's taking a sack.
Yeah, she was annoying.
Also, too, part of my take made a great point today. They were talking about the Lions-Eagles game. They go, yeah, well, if you're a Lions fan, Big Cat goes, let's just hope you're a Michigan State fan, too, because then it's fine. He goes, but if you're a Michigan fan, boy, that was a bad weekend. I felt that deep. And I thought about you guys, but you know what, at least basically what I'm saying is this is a college football podcast until we get into the thick of college basketball season, because there's not much else to talk about.
Yeah, and with that, cheers.
College basketball starts next week.
Cheers to that.
Michigan State football.
Chug your whiskey.
And Michigan State playing Kansas and inevitably losing in the Champions Classic to start.
No, that one guy got a DUI.
And the overreactions.
Cheers.
Cheers to my team. One bloodbath.